Check, check.
There we go.
Good. Hey, we're back. It's time for round 6, the final round of pool play. What matchup do we have for the fans?
Today we're looking at Julian from Canada playing Zarbag's Gitz. He's paired with Pillage and Plunder as well as Blazing Assault. He will be playing into, by popular demand, Ylthari's Guardians, piloted by Skyler of the Madison crew. He's going to be playing Reckless Fury paired with Pillage and Plunder. So a little bit of overlap in the Pillage and Plunder today. Again, some focus gameplay. We should expect both players to be doing plenty of attacking as well with different aggro decks. 2 different flavors of strike today, so we'll see how that shakes out. And you know, the preview article's dropping today. Lets people read along at home. I'll do my best to narrate the cards as we go. But Blazing Assault and Reckless Fury do play a little differently, so we should see how things shake out.
Yeah, we'll be working through those abilities as we go. I think it's important to talk about the competitors real quick. I know that they're both 2 and 3 right now. They're not out of it for the cut. There is the possibility that a 3 and 3 player can make it through to the top 16.
Yeah.
It kind of needs some things to line up, but these guys are playing for their last chance to make that cut.
In their favor, you need to be the top 4 in your pool, but because we're playing win path pairings, the people at the top right now are playing into each other. So there may be some people who are 3 and 2, and if the right people lose at the 4 and 1 and become 4 and 2, some tiebreakers may cause some things to bump around. I don't know exactly how it's going to shake out, but there is a chance for any 3 and 3 to proceed to that top 16. So you may be seeing one of these 2 advance to the champs bracket later
Exactly.
today.
Both these players actually won their tickets in Canada. I was talking to Julian. He won his up in Edmonton at the There was a 3-letter acronym. I can't quite recall. It was
Canadian Team Championship,
CTC. That was it. He earned his ticket there. Skyler earned his at the Alberta Classic. That's one run by Derek, Captain Murder.
You may have seen on the stream yesterday.
It was a valiant effort. He played 6 rounds in a 5-round tournament to bring that one home.
Secure that one, but he did take it home.
Yeah,
bringing one home for the USA. We love to see it.
Yeah.
And today he will face another Canadian in a chance to potentially advance to the championships bracket and maybe a world title down the line.
Yeah, a lot on the line here. You got to have the eye of the tiger.
Absolutely.
Let's take a look at the board. These guys are just finishing shuffling up. I think as they shuffle, this might be a good time to run through some War Scroll things for people who may not be familiar. I suspect as listeners filter in, we're going to be repeating this a few times, but we can throw it out there.
All right, so we'll start with Zarbag's Gitz. That's been shown as one of the 13 coming back through from the Rivals of the Mirrored City box. Interestingly, Zarbag's Gitz are somewhat incentivized to lose fighters. Their inspiration is immediately after your total glory points are equal to or greater than the number of friendly fighters on the battlefield, inspire each friendly fighter. So if all 9 are alive, you'll need 9 of them, 9 glory points to inspire. But if you've lost 6 fighters, you only need 3. So while you thin them down, the remaining ones have a chance to become more powerful. Now, we do know that every warband has 7 bounty to give up, but Zarbag's Gitz have 9 fighters. The way they handle that is those last 2 are barely worth it. So regardless of who the last 2 standing are, they are worth 0 bounty. And we'll set up similarly to how we saw before. When Drizzt the Squig Herder goes down, the 2 squigs go down next to him. They must end in an empty hex that is not a starting and has no feature tokens adjacent to the Squig Herder. So a little different from before where they can't start on a feature, but seeing as they can now hold treasure tokens, that is a good balancing mechanic. They do have the Scurry mechanic, which has been FAQ'd for this event. We talked about it a little bit before. After a friendly fighter moves, the neighboring fighter can move. If it doesn't have any tokens, is how it's been specified, and it's only once per turn, once per round, I should say. So it's not going to be necessarily a swarming the board thing you have seen before. The Spiteful Volley reaction is when one of the archers shoots, another one of the archers can shoot, and it can only use that once per turn. So they're not going to see all 3 fire at the same time, but you could chain off a couple of multi-attacks. And probably the most interesting one is that Snurk Sourtongue has the spin-in ability. After an enemy fighter is pushed, placed, or enters a hex adjacent to a friendly Snurk, inflict 1 damage on that fighter. So dangerous to everyone who comes near. you can tag for 1 damage, and it does not have a vulnerable designation. So if you manage to drive someone back into Snurk's radius, that might be his last moment. That being said, Snurk cannot be given guard tokens, so you may, as his opponent, be able to push him around and manipulate that as well.
That's right. As for the Guardians, they have an interesting Inspire. They kind of plant the seed where they take a card. Whoop, here's the roll off. We got a crit coming from.
I believe that's
Skyler.
Skyler's rolling the light blue attack dice this time.
Skyler may or may, I'll have to check. I'm not sure. He may be using the Eyes of the Nine dice that we found.
I think theirs were translucent. The attack dice were translucent blue. These ones look more solid to me, so it may have been from the Death Gorge box.
Yeah.
Or the Winter Maw, actually.
So I know that Skyler plays this pretty flex. The War Scroll is pretty interesting on the Yltharis. As I was saying, they're Inspire. They plant cards, so they can take a card from their hand or their deck off the top of their deck, put a counter on it, and then after every turn, after every one of their turns, they'll add another counter. When it reaches, let's say they can have up to 3 in there. At the end of your turn and after an enemy fighter are slain, you can place 1 growth token on each of these cards. After the 5th growth token is placed on the same card, pick a friendly fighter, inspire that fighter, remove those growth tokens, then add that card to your hand. So it inspires them and it does card draw. Skyler's found that in his round 2, he frequently has a very good round. That's where he's got the most options because he has a whole bunch of card draw from all those seeds he planted earlier. The rest of their abilities are they pick 1 ability that they can use per battle round. The Burgeoning gives them a push based on the number of friendly slain fighters, or to a minimum 1. The Reaping is extra accuracy, again attached to the number of slain fighters. The Dwindling, this is where they can teleport a fighter, move it and place it next to somebody else. And then Everdusk, which is bonus damage based on the number of friendly slain fighters, which means that they can, if you're down to 1 fighter, it means he can throw a +3 damage attack.
+3, and that's not with the Grievous keyword. So for all you know, you could be dropping huge amounts of damage.
It is spectacular.
And so interesting to see that in this matchup, both teams are actually incentivized to lose some fighters because Zarbags will inspire the fewer they have left more easily, and Ylthari has better access to more dice, more damage, more things to do with that War Scroll, the more of their fighters are slain. So expect some aggressive, risk-taking behavior out of both as they plan on losing some fighters in order to advance their game plan.
Skyler really enjoys how adaptive this War Scroll is, and you would look at it and think that I've got to pick 1 round, like I can't keep going back to the Burgeoning or what have you. That's not the case. He can each round continue to use the same one. He loves the adaptation he gets out of it. I can say I don't think that Skyler. Well, I take it back. Skyler may have trained against Zarbag's Gitz because they are one of Brian's favorite warbands, but I don't actually have a strong feel for what he thinks of this matchup.
Yeah, Zarbag's has a lot of tools. It has a lot of fighters. It can be hard to prepare for, even if you have had the chance. And we're not sure exactly how Julian's chosen to take it, so there'll be a lot of learning, I think, on every edge of the table here. We do have a question in the chat from John Cha-Cha-Cha, and it says, apparently their Scurry got eroded. Is it true they can only move 1 other fighter now? So I will read the FAQ that we are using for this event. I can't promise that that'll be true publicly, but for today, the change to the Scurry ability is you have to choose a different fighter with no move or charge tokens who is adjacent to that fighter, and that friendly fighter can move. This ability can be used once per turn. So you can use it 4 turns in a round. You can move different fighters each time, but once they've gained that move token, they're not eligible. And each turn you can only use it once. So even if you somehow manufacture a pile of 4 grots, only one of them is scurrying each turn. So that does limit Julian's ability to get around the board. We'll see if that holds for when they do release an eventual public FAQ errata. But for the purposes of this event and today's game, only 1 fighter per turn is going to scurry.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the design team will be paying attention to how the players adapt to the different War Scrolls, how they implement them, and consider making some changes based on what that comes. We got a roll-off here, and it looks like Julian's going to win that one. We'll see what Julian chooses to do with that. Skyler, of course, getting the free power card. Julian asking around. The the leader for the Guardians is Ylthari herself. She does start on 2 dodge, but she's only 3 health. So she is potentially a source to get killed. Oh, here we go. Right out of the gate. We have the archer. I'm going to forget her name, but she's getting charged by a squig.
And the other thing you'll notice is that after a squig's move, we got a scurry because those are no longer restricted to just the goblins themselves, but point. Any fighter. So squigs can trigger and also scurry themselves.
We have Brash Scout, which I believe grants rerolls.
Brash Scout is play this immediately after you make an attack roll for a fighter in enemy territory. Reroll 1 dice in that attack roll. If you are the underdog, you can instead reroll each dice. Now, there is no underdog as of yet, but it will allow Julian a reroll. And unfortunately, there was nothing coming out of that regardless.
Skyler rolling anyway. Got a shield there. Onslain would be defending on 1 dodge, does have 4 health. And right away we have
Get stuck in, which Julian has done. So that still will score him a glory.
Onto that first power step. This is where they're going to get a feel for how strong those hands are. Julian not having to take a big risk with that, bomb a squig forward, only 1 bounty to give up, and getting a free glory to get the train started. The Gitz Inspire, when they have as much glory, as much equal to or more glory than they have remaining fighters.
Yeah, so not only do they want to score a lot of early surge, but they also do want to lose fighters. So you might say, well, that's one of your better or more accurate damage-dealing fighters. Why would you risk him in such a way? And Julian's probably thinking, I hope Skyler takes the bait. Doesn't go for someone with no tokens. We also saw him delve. Remember, he is playing Pillage and Plunder.
Mm-hmm.
Both players are using that deck, so they're both going to want to delve these treasure tokens into cover. And who can do that more effectively earlier on is going to perhaps dictate some of the end phase scoring from that deck.
It does look like we delved treasure token 3, which would mean that
against the odds,
is already in the bag. Skyler thinking hard about it. I know I play against Skyler a lot, and I know that he really likes to have a complete plan for the turn. Most often, he's thinking on a level that I am not. We'll get done. He's like, I love that you counterplayed this thing. And it's like, oh, that didn't even cross my mind.
Definitely did that on purpose. His fighter carefully.
Counting it out. And that is coming in with...
That is the leader there making that charge.
Yeah, Ylthari getting involved. Ylthari has... a crit on this one. Her attack profile up close is 2 hammers for 2 damage, which she lands right away. That's going to get Skyler a bit of bounty. I'd be curious if it scores him anything.
Possible. He is playing a strike deck. So he's placed the card off to the side. He's making use of his inspiration mechanic, which if you take a look at that war scroll, the entire left sidebar is a long paragraph in yellow of how they inspire. So somewhat complicated. He will place power cards face down. Later, he will put growth tokens on them. And once certain things happen, he will then get access to that card and inspire a fighter. So somewhat like Rhyme Locked, if people remember from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit different, of course, and a Warband-specific flavor. But Skyler taking a power card that he no longer can use this round in order to possibly get a great benefit later.
Yeah.
Julian, though, you got to think is feeling okay about losing that squig who's already charged.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's 1 fighter closer to inspire, and he has everyone with the ability to charge still. So not too worried about that.
We have a delve back on that treasure token 3. Could be making progress towards the surge for 3 delves. But it won't make him progress towards the end phase, which requires 3 different treasure tokens to be delved. It is interesting with the Inspire mechanic for the Guardians. They get to decide if that card is going to come out of their hand or if it's going to come out of their deck. I think 99.5% of the time you're going to take one out of your deck rather than limit your current options. But somebody did point out to me that say you got an upgrade that, man, I'm not going to be able to afford this for a while, but I really don't want to have to throw it away. You can plant and say, like, we'll get that guy later.
Yeah, it is one way to say, say you're between rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Normally a player has to hold on to that really important card,
yep.
which means they're only drawing 4.
Yep.
you can say basically, I'm going to put this one on layaway, and I'll come back to it later, allowing you to draw through more of your deck.
Yep.
But yes, generally speaking, you would want to draw the top card of your deck and put that down, and that would mean that you also get some more draw and have a full power hand throughout the round. But towards the end of the round, when you know a card isn't going to be useful right now, it is one way to possibly get it a round or so later.
We get a charge and a Scurry Whip. Those are on the table. Yep.
Right.
Looks like one success, I'm guessing.
Benefiting from rolling again inside the bin. But there's a crit.
Skyler rolling attack, guys.
Well, it's early in the morning, folks. And that's too bad because that first roll had a crit in it.
Both players struggling with the dice rolling aspect, but they're just finding their groove here. That's 1 damage onto Ylthari. Leaves her 2 away from getting perished.
And in
another
one sense,
delve. This has got to be a surge.
It's possible that Skyler is okay with losing Ylthari because, again, there's that surge for delving 3 times, as well as share the load because now he's holding 2 tokens.
This feels a little like Gitz old, where they're kind of using some movement efficiency, a few attacks here and there, and then scoring or getting on things.
Got to do that early before you lose too many fighters. So,
right.
And that looks like a sidestep there, or much more than a sidestep. That's commanding stride. So Ylthari's brought herself into a surrounded position, but again, it's possible that Skyler is hoping that she is slain.
Oh, Lure of Battle.
Lure of Battle
even further in.
Still surrounded, but adjacent to a different fighter now.
Have to assume that Skyler was hoping to get flanked bonuses for that foremost Git. We'll notice that there is a exclusion zone up there around Snark. He's standing up near the northern snare hex. Stagger hex.
And no one is going near that because they don't want to take 1 damage for free. Skyler does have access to some ranged attacks, so he may be able to deal with him. An upgrade.
Skyler playing out an upgrade. We're going to try and figure out what that one was. It's gone on Skithale. Skithale coming in. Still on that same target. Uninspired Skithale's rolling 2 hammers for 2 damage. That would have been 2 successes if there wasn't a drawn in. So this is going to give that Git a chance, but...
And that card, I believe, was Swift Step.
Okay.
It's a 1 glory upgrade from Pillage and Plunder. Immediately after a fighter is charged, you may push this fighter 1 hex.
Julian rolling a shield, and I think that was successful because I believe it was the...
I haven't seen any damage put down or any fighters removed. So Skyler drawing him back, and then Swift stepping himself likely onto this token, if I read that card correctly.
Skyler popping a surge off. Both players getting some surge action going. We were looking at already 3 surges for Julian. Skyler getting his first, but also has bounty.
Another card placed, so he can begin to get some growth tokens out there and work towards inspiration.
Let's see if we can figure out where Skyler's glory's at. It's going to be under the dice tray, unfortunately. So we'll just peek in on it periodically. So notably, Julian did save his fighter from taking that hit with that Lure of Battle, pulling Ylthari in. Got another delve. That's 2 treasure tokens so far that have been delved. Now, the mechanic for inspiring Ylthari, the placing a card and placing growth counters on cards are akin. So it's not actually mandatory each round. Looks like another squig attack coming in. This one going on Ylthari.
Notably, the squigs do have flying because of how bouncy they are, which allowed him to jump over that line and get where he needed to be.
This is 2 successes, which will kill unless Skyler can get 2 successes or a crit.
The answer there is no.
It does not.
There's 2 more damage on Ylthari. She is out. And Ylthari giving up some bounty there.
2 bounty.
And that does perhaps make Skyler's War Scroll ability slightly more powerful, though, because he does have a slain fighter. Many of those things are to a minimum of 1, but should he lose a second fighter, he will start getting exponentially increasing benefits of his War Scroll abilities. So Julian will need to be careful who, when, and where he slays the remaining fighters.
The Gitz are only 3 glory away from their own Inspire here, and I would expect them to do it in the end phase. I believe they all pick up, or most of them pick up a second defense dice. We'll take a look at that.
Many of them are on 1 dodge to start, inspiring to 2. Snurk notably going from 2 dodge to 3. And Zarbag already starting on 2 dodge, and Drizget remaining on 1 shield. But otherwise, it is generally a defensive benefit to inspire, which will make Skyler's strike plan a little more difficult.
A Reckless Fury play, getting that charge token off of Scythale so that he can get another attack off. He's getting into the back line. Redcap is going to have to open his fancy hat, protects him from this chop.
That stagger might get in the way, though.
Let's remember that he's on cover.
Ooh, well, that's going
to be tough.
Not going to do it. Cover is 1, but 2.
And an overrun, which I suspect Skyler's going to take for that extra defensive.
I would be surprised if he didn't. They're both playing Pillage and Plunder. Managing his growth tokens first. Overrun being a new mechanic, it could be easy to forget, but Skyler has not.
There he is.
So he is on that token now, which may end up being pivotal in the end phase, depending on what kind of cards Skyler's holding.
Skyler tends to forget rules pretty rarely, and so whenever he does, I assume it's part of a intentional gambit on his part, and it will turn me into loops while I try and figure out why he's chosen to do this thing.
That objective there, a Reckless Fury card. And possibly that is a...
Skyler with a whole bunch of cards face down. This one that he's placed here...
I believe the card he scored his best foot forward after a charge token in enemy territory. It's pretty smooth and easy to do when you can manipulate those tokens in Reckless Fury.
That is Skyler using a War Scroll ability, so he must be using a push to retreat Onslain to a safer spot, perhaps. I wonder if he's got another push in hand, because that didn't seem like a dramatically different position.
It does put him 1 closer to that back treasure token, which if he has, say, sidestep or something else, that might be what he's working towards. But
so we did just see a Git run through the lethal range of Snurk. But currently, as printed, that War Scroll has Snurk's ability as a surge, which means it's optional.
Yeah. So there, I believe, was clarification for the Gitz players earlier in the event. I haven't heard it myself, but seeing as he's now entered dangerous places twice with taking no damage, and Skyler's not correcting him, it means that because it is a surge ability, surges can do this surge, and so Julian has chosen not to damage his own fighter. There are some circumstances where you may want to force that inspire, but my guess is that not advantageous to his current game plan, so he's going to not damage himself. Growth tokens being thrown out on the board.
Skyler, so that was an objective he had surged into. Skyler will lay it down so that he knows what it is, but reminds himself that he can't score it. He also, to make sure that he remembered, placed 3 growth tokens on top of it, so he wasn't going to be able to pick it up without getting past the growth tokens.
That's one way to manage those tokens, because this game does have a lot of things to remember, and when you play a somewhat complex warband as Ylthari's is, forcing yourself to do the right thing is often a good thing.
With these kills, he's actually accelerated his inspiration here. He has already got 4 counters on his first one, so he's imminently going to get his Inspire.
Another Reckless Fury upgrade.
It could be Headcase.
I believe that is what it is. Headcase reads 0 glory upgrade. If this fighter has no charge tokens, instead of playing a power card and a power step, you can give this fighter a charge token.
So I think Skyler's going to maybe manufacture a charged out situation. Gallingen is the only one. There it is. That tells me... What does that tell me?
Well, he could be working towards a all fighters in a given territory have charge tokens situation.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to charge that fighter because that might cause him to leave territory.
He definitely wanted to not activate Gallingen. Just going on guard. Interesting.
So it seems
Oh,
very
he's got
important.
a surge. That's right. There it is.
That is a Reckless Fury surge.
Living Bludgeon, I'm almost positive.
And it is Living Bludgeon. Score this immediately after an action step if a friendly fighter has a guard token and a charge token and is not in friendly territory. So that was the goal of getting charged out, is being able to activate that fighter to place them on guard and then getting that surge there. So that was the goal. And then we see ourselves.
There it is. That explains that. That gets us to the explanation of where we were. We have a step onto a feature token. I think the Gitz have their 3 different treasures delved, so they likely have a 2 glory coming in. I'm scanning. I only see 2 treasure. I see 1 treasure token on the map, which tells me that there's a good chance there's a 4 glory end phase coming in, depending on what exactly is in Julian's hand.
Still in the power step. Julian has the capacity to delve things back if he needs to do that.
Scythale inspiring as the first. Skyler has flexibility in choosing who he's going to inspire. Scythale is gaining 1 extra dice on his attack, and he picks up Ensnare.
Which is notably going to be very useful in this matchup, as nearly all of Zarbag's fighters are on dodge.
Desolate Homeland.
Oh, only 1 token in his
Torn
territory.
Landscape. So those delves were not to get the 3 delves, turns out, but it was to try and ensure Torn Landscape, which he has done. That will be 8 glory, which is going to be enough to inspire because he's only got 7 fighters left on the board.
True.
Skyler coming back with maybe also Torn Landscape.
And no friendly fighters are inspired. I mean, no friendly fighters are adjacent. That's called Lost in the Depths. And then he also scoring Torn Landscape for 2. Score this in end phase if there are 2 or fewer treasure tokens on the battlefield. So Pillage and Plunder on both sides of the equation for this match. They're both hoping to minimize the number of tokens there. But seeing as they both scored it in the same step as a mirror, neither player gaining a distinct advantage with that. Some people in the chat being pretty excited to see Zarbag and Ylthari. We're glad we were able to deliver this matchup to you because I know you guys have been asking for those warbands throughout the day, and the pairings did work out, which is great. And it's always good to feature 2 great players as well.
Skyler playing out Keen Eyes going on Gallingen, and possibly Glory Seeker.
That one looks like a Reckless Fury card.
It's this one right here.
And it is Blade Catcher, which has been pretty impactful in some of the other matches throughout the event. I'll read that out for you. Blade Catcher is from the Reckless Fury deck. It is a 1 glory upgrade. When this fighter is the target of an attack, the attacker cannot use weapon abilities. So no access to Cleave, no access to Grievous, or any other ability that Julian might want to use, which means basically he'll be using profiles of attacks alone with no modifiers. So can be pretty good for the survivability of a fighter, especially if you can increase their defense characteristic.
Zarbag has an upgrade over there, the only upgrade out on the Gitz. It might be duelist. It was a little difficult for me to see there. It is a 1 glory. We're tied up after that first round.
8-8. You can see that primacy token there at the top of the screen in between the 2 players, as there is no underdog at the moment.
Julian actually knew Skyler well enough to say, hey, I know you were a Mad Mob enjoyer, and so why don't we use a big beefy primacy token to keep track.
Call back to the good old days for Skyler there. That Mad Mob currently in a Pink Slips box in our hotel room right now, Davey. Just want to remind you that you have the chance to win that back for him if you are brave enough to face me. Swords being flanked here, so Julian will have priority. Skyler drawing his card. Julian looking through his hand to make the decision of whether he goes first or not.
Without any extra work from something like a focus action, Skyler's going to play this round with, by my count, 8 power cards.
Drawn at least 3 for his mechanic from his faction, and now drawn an extra 1 through his losing of the priority roll here.
So Julian's got the first activation, and he's got some nice survivability bumps with that Inspire.
Every fighter on his warband has improved their save characteristic except for Zarbag and Drizkit. The rest have now gone up by 1 defense die, so that ensnare is going to come in very handy for Skyler later on.
Does that include the remaining squig going to 2 dodge?
As far as I'm aware, yes, but I will confirm that for you. Squigs begin on 1 and go to 2 dodge, yes.
Wow. The flying squigs is a little flavorful tweak that I know happened late, sort of in the reboot that they got in first edition. At lower move, it doesn't always seem all that impactful, but when it is, it's pretty cool.
And we have already seen it once happen where he was able to jump over a conga line of 4 fighters and reach a position he would not have been able to charge around to. So seeing as Zarbags does tend to clog the board early in the game, as you try to set up those scurries, and with 9 fighters, you do find that flying can be more useful than you'd expect.
Here comes Snurk.
That one is Zarbag, actually.
Oh, that's Zarbag.
And then Snurk has been pushed with the scurry reaction. So now there is a dangerous area, and effectively, unless he wants to force a charge away from Snurk, there's going to be a ping damage coming out.
Zarbag
throwing 2 hammers there.
Snurk along so that if he had landed that attack, he could have. Well, there it
is, driving back into a territory, likely to react with that, placing 2 damage from the attack and 1 additional from that reaction for spinning. So we now have a vulnerable inspired fighter on the board, and I imagine Skyler's going to try and make use of that fighter before they're long for this world.
If Skyler wants to, he could try to use his +1 damage ability. He's got 1 fighter out of action right now, so he could use Everdusk to get +1 damage on Scythael's attack. It would be coming at 3 hammers with ensnare on Snurk, who would be defending on 3 dodge. I think he has to be really interested in either getting Scythael away from there or dealing with Snurk, because right now a drive back from either direction is going to get him killed.
Yeah, so he is attacking into Snurk as expected, making use of that ensnare, the 3 dodge. There are still crits on the facings of those die. And
he is using his once per round, and he did gesture to Ylthari.
Slain fighter to indicate.
So we'll see if he rolls 4 dice. We know he used it for accuracy. If he throws 3, then he's doing it for damage.
And it's the damage.
Oh dear.
But
oh, he's probably got. There we go.
Roll me an extra die, he says. I need to hit this. And there's a crit with ensnare.
So no dodges are going to count here. Julian looking for a crit on his end.
Rolls
does not
no
get
successes anyway, so that's going to be enough to take Snurk out, which is a big benefit for Skyler this early in the game.
Scythael can't breathe too easy yet, though, because gets to the left of him, gets to the right of him. Oh, and he gets a heal.
Now he's healed himself.
All right.
We see a mention in the chat that it was a miss because cover saved. I'm not sure. You guys are a couple seconds behind us, so I may have missed it. But when Snurk was hit, he was not in cover, and there would be no surrounded result as a success. So that was a whiff out of defense for Snurk there, and he is in fact slain by my understanding.
Yeah, that might have been a reference to Zarbag coming in.
Zarbag striking him in the first place.
Yeah. That's actually not the first time we've seen that. It's really hard sometimes to remember. These guys get connected with, hey, we're delving these. It can be hard to remember that.
Getting that they do get the benefit of cover while still in cover. I'm assuming as people become more familiar with the new edition and we spend more time in cover than we used to, that'll come out to play more often.
Skyler fanning out some power cards. And he has inspired Gallingen now. Continuing to get resources in his hand. It's got to feel good if that one you need grows out of the ground. I sure could use a healing potion right now. Glad I planted that seed a couple of turns ago.
Yeah, because having 2 health left, those squigs inspired do 2 damage, and there's one within charge range. So we'll see if that's what's coming next. Skyler holding a power card in hand, considering whether he wants to play it. Thinking better of it, putting it back. Playing a different card. Utter Ignorance is a card.
Oh, wow.
Which comes in the Reckless Fury deck. If you haven't been able to familiarize yourself with this, it's incredibly potent. 2 glory upgrade. If this fighter is slain, they are not slain, and they have 1 wound left. So you'll have to kill that fighter twice if you want them off the board now. And Impossibly Quick is coming out, which means +1 defense dice until you fail a defense roll. So Skyler putting a lot of resources into keeping Skythale alive right now. And seeing as it's an inspired fighter deep in enemy territory, which currently has no charge tokens, I imagine he does want him standing for another activation or 2.
Right as Eva's Underworlds points out in the chat that all treasure tokens have been flipped. One of them comes back. They're both running Pillage and Plunder, but I do not know if either of them are running the 3 Glory Haymaker for no treasure being held or no treasure existing.
You've got to imagine Skyler's not, or at least it's not currently in his hand because he's the one who flipped it back.
Squig coming in, 2 damage. That is going to kill, except for
Utter Ignorance has left him with 1 wound remaining. So excellent play out of Skyler, knowing that he is going to need to keep that fighter alive. And seeing as he did not fail the defense roll, he does keep the +1 save dice for the remainder of that fighter's life. In reference to the all tokens are delved or no one's holding situation, that card is called Strip the Realm for 3 glory.
Got it.
So it's possible that one or both players have that in their hand, seeing as we've seen a significant amount of delving going on. That might be the case.
Hey, big hi to Jazz out there. Jazz, a part of what made this team possible. Some of the assets you see on this stream were created by her, and that was really something that Skyler and I appreciated because it gave us a little more breathing room to work on some other things. That was her own time. We really appreciate it.
Skyler throwing dice. He gets a crit and a success. Squigs are on 2 dodge, and those are not 2 successes. So
well, one for the cover. He's in cover.
One for the cover, but his shield won't do it, so there's a down Squig. And because he has that push after an attack, he now is on that cover again, allowing him some token occupancy and putting him within strike range of Zarbag if he so desires.
Skythale really exuding some main character energy here. Everything revolving around him.
Skyler has inspired his 3rd surviving fighter and taken that power card back into hand, so possibly positioned for some pretty good power play in the next few rounds. Looking through their scored objectives to make sure they have the correct amount of glory out on the table. We did have a clarifying statement from the judging staff prior to this round beginning that it's very important that the players have the correct number of glory out on the table at all times so as not to mislead their opponent. And if the game ends when you have the wrong glory out, that's your glory. So both players are going to be pretty cognizant of that as they go forward.
Skyler
having
getting
dealt
his
3
third
now,
delve.
scoring that surge.
We had a final frenzy.
Brian giving us a report from the field. There was a final frenzy on Drom, which is roll as many dice as you have.
Blood tithe.
And for every crit you roll, you will heal a fighter who is this fighter who's about to die. He demonstrated 5 dice, all crits.
Yeah,
so.
Which is remarkably, what's that? 6 to the power of 5. You do the math. A once per lifetime situation that man got. So very good to that.
There's that saying about a million monkeys with a million years on typewriters.
Right,
Shakespeare.
That might have just happened in this room today.
A million drums with a million blood tithe could
eventually roll 5 crits. All right, so we have one of the archers shooting. We'll see if he tries to make reaction out of that second archer shot, but I don't think any are near enough to access that. Spiteful volley again. The fighter must be within 3 hexes of the fighter whose ranged weapon has volley. So if no surviving archers are nearby and the only other archer is well across the board, there will be no volley for this shot. Attempting to pick off Skythale there, but not successful.
Brian notifying all the players here that 20 minutes remain in game 1. I think these guys are on fairly good track to finish up, although they'll have to keep the pace going.
Yeah, we are going to be a little tight on time today because we do have to play the final pools round and then take some downtime between the rounds to determine who is in which bracket for the purposes of World Championships. So players are being incentivized, pressured somewhat to play very quickly. I've been told there's chess clocks at several tables around the tournament right now to make sure that everyone's accountable to their opponent and playing in a quick manner. Players who've made it to this world tournament we know are very competent and skilled and capable of going quickly, but with so much on the line, it's hard not to second guess yourself and look through every card twice. So a little bit of competing pressures here. Skyler about to roll some attack dice here, and he has gotten himself a crit.
Wow.
And that reroll gives him a
2
crit and a
successes,
success.
one of which is a crit.
That isn't going to do it.
Continuing to just blender this warband. This is wild.
Main character energy continues.
He went deep behind enemy lines, coming fighting his way back out.
And the ability to push himself after an attack continuing to be incredibly valuable here because he is skateboarding wherever he'd like to go. I think he's gotten on and off of 3 tokens with that card already, which is much more value than you'd expect on a vulnerable fighter to have.
And I think this is also an interesting point, demonstrating the value of Ensnare. Like, he's making these attacks with more confidence. Ensnare with the crits no longer trumping everything. Ensnare and Cleave, a lot of value. And this matchup, particularly Ensnare, has done well for him. And I think that's why we saw Scythael inspire so early.
Because Skyler, knowing he has access to Ensnare and a specific opponent, that's the greatest thing to do. Normally, when I play against this warband, I have particular fear for the big two-handed halberd coming at me. But, not really as useful against Gitz. So Skyler not making use of that.
The Gitz still going for it. We have a charge in from one of the archer boys.
That's the other archer there, and so he'll have the chance to volley if he had a surviving archer.
That's
but
2
he's
successes.
down to his last one. 2 successes here, and I believe he defends on 1 shield, but that won't be 2. So that's the last wound placed on Scythael, and the main character has exited the building.
That's putting Julian on 11, Skyler on 12, and Gellingen may finally have to stop doing his best tree impression and actually get involved here.
Why don't you make like a tree and leaf that home territory and start pulling your weight?
Eva's Underworlds helping us out with some statistics. It sounds like there was a 0.01% chance of that heal happening that Brian was describing.
Yeah, we don't know for a fact that if it was only 5 dice rolled or of the several dice that were rolled, that 5 came out as crits. But regardless, incredible result for that chosen player. And it's very possible that the fighter who was just theoretically slain is actually at a higher health characteristic than they were before the attack. All right, so we've stopped thinking like a tree as predicted, coming in, and Prague Danetta is about to see just how hard that axe can swing.
Gallingen coming in at with his range 1 attack. This is going to be a 2 damage attack if it can go through. Which it does not. And there's no trapped anymore.
Julian visibly relieved after that dice roll. Because the last several have not gone his way.
The good news for Julian is that he only has 2 more bounty to give up. So
true. Because
despite
remember,
4 fighters on the board.
As a reminder for those at home, barely worth it is a war scroll ability for Zarbag's Gitz. Your last 2 fighters are worth 0 bounty. So only able to harvest a total of 7, no matter how many of them you take down.
Ben and Brenna coming in. Those some of our locals rooting for Skyler here.
Waking up at 7 in the morning on a Saturday to watch a game is
Field of Blood and Keep Chopping coming in for the Gitz. Jump them to 13.
The glory token went flying, but Julian has gone to recover it.
Skyler on 12. Not sure if he hasn't scored anything or if he is deciding, waiting for Julian to finish his side of things. I'm sure Skyler's running some of those 2 glory end phases that are in Reckless Fury. And Julian has the ability to disrupt those with his scurries, putting move counters out there. Move tokens, I should say. Skyler apparently not scoring anything because he's just accepting the underdog token.
Has chosen to hold on to his cards, though. So you got to wonder, what is it that he wasn't able to obtain? It's possibly that losing Scythael, who was on Treasure Token 3, might have been very important to his plan. But it is still available, and should he win the priority roll with the underdog status, he might be able to get on it and stay on it, and then secure those cards that he is choosing to keep in his hand.
Real close here. We're looking at 12 to 13.
12 to 13 by my site.
Skyler with Galleon and Onslain. Onslain is only going to be able to do the 1 damage. She is inspired, so she's out to range 4 with that. So she can do some harassment from back there. She can target both the feature tokens that are towards the middle.
And the surviving Gitz between 2 and 3 wounds apiece. So that could potentially do the last damage to take out a fighter in a given situation. So she may still contribute in a way she might not against elites. In this situation, Surrounded actually does beat Flanked, so Skyler is the winner of the roll. Julian drawing his power card. You got to imagine that Skyler will take the first activation here.
Nice tight game to kick things off for us on day 3 of the Warhammer World Championships.
And as predicted, there is that move onto the token in question. Skyler probably needing that to score the end phase cards that he has carried over into this round.
Skyler's going to feel fine making this attack from this position. He really does want to kill here, but Galligan with his range 1 attack actually has the rune mark of Brutal.
So no supports are available.
Right.
He's scoring some cards for, I believe that's Share the Load. Now, after the move, he is on the token. He scores that, and not the underdog anymore, but before the attack. Draws a new card, takes a look at it, puts it off to the side because it is not currently scoreable, even if he meets the condition during this attack roll. Looks like one success there.
1 success right now.
One success because the Brutal does take away that flanked result, but 1-1 is still a tie. He'll drive him back just to make things more difficult for Julian, though Scurry can fix that situation up for him right quick.
Skyler on Reckless Fury means the charge token
could be removed or handed off to another fighter.
Exactly.
And then playing a card to put that fighter on guard, so he will, unless slain, likely occupy that token for the remainder of the round.
Galligan going to be a real tough nut to crack here. 2 defense dice when inspired, 4 health. And
I've learned the hard way from first edition that this is a situation you just don't bother attacking it to.
In first edition, Galligan had like a crackback where he'd ping you. It was pretty rough.
So now the question is, does Skyler charge off of that token to reach charged out, or is he going to play something like Get It Done to pass the token off?
I think that might have been a commanding stride from Zarbag.
Looks to be the case.
Maybe a sidestep as well.
And that does take that center token away from Skyler if he wanted to try and charge onto it. So probably a smart move from Zarbag, leaving again immediately. Looking to make a charge. Does have the stagger reroll here. Zarbag, I want to say throwing 3 hammers while inspired. Take a look.
And Zarbag does have a couple upgrades. It's hard
3 hammers for 2 damage.
Determined effort. There's going to be a lot of dice coming in here.
And does have the reroll. So that is 2 hammers, 1 reroll. Is 3 successes, no crits. Skyler with
no successes for Skyler.
No successes. So that'll be 2 damage and a drive back. And Zarbag must also have one of those.
I'm pretty sure Duelist is up there.
Yeah, Duelist may be on him. So token theft there. Even without the crit and overrun, he does take it back. Now delving to stagger himself, however. So we'll see if that comes into play. Both players sharing a laugh. Call it in the chat. Loving those Spent Glory tokens from Julian. I do as well. Big Spent Glory fan over here. Skyler browsing through his hand. Remember, he did hold all 3 objective cards from last round.
He seemed to be pretty interested in that treasure token 3. Githael ran over there, and now Galligan has occupied it quite early.
Delving it will stagger him, but does not remove guard in 2nd edition. So Galligan now staggered and on guard, but being in cover means that every facing save for flanked will be a success on his 2 defense rolls.
Onslane may be a little hard pressed to dig him out. Oh, we got
that is
handing out a free charge there.
Yeah, he's given himself a
braced as a reckless fury.
Those aren't I. Despite playing them for years, I can't tell them apart at this distance. Yeah, so he has given a charge token without having to charge, activating the charged out state, and if he would like to, he can lay about for the next 3 actions there with Galligan in the center.
Must feel that he's got a little bit of time with Onslane. He does still have his War Scroll ability. Be interesting to see how he chooses to use that.
Yeah, because he'll have 2 slain fighters and will get +2 to whatever option he chooses.
So it could be a +2 damage. Probably not going with that. Although he could use it to knock down one of those 3 health fighters. It could be a +2 dice if he really wants to get one attack through. And then there's a 2-hex push. I think that might be the most attractive, where Onslane might be able to get to that feature token. Again, not totally sure what Skyler's trying to work, but this extra charge token is clearly going to make it so Galligan is getting some more swings in.
Worth knowing that it could potentially be part of Skyler's plan to allow the archer to die, to give him 3 to those effects instead. So we'll see if Julian thinks that that's worth the bounty. All right, so it appears he has chosen to do some plus damage here, so even a crit standfast won't save the fighter he's targeting.
He's going over the top on Drizgid, which is the only reason to be doing this extra damage, I have to imagine. Still not with Brutal on this one, so supports will help him. I think he wants this one pretty bad.
There's one crit and a very precarious spinning die.
Go!
Skyler nodding his head. All right. Both players just bouncing their head in anticipation throughout that. And that is not going to do it. So that War Scroll ability coming in there. Drizgid taken out. That's one of his better damage dealers. And seeing as Zarbag is already charged and is no longer nearby, it's pretty likely that Galligan is going to be surviving for the rest of the round.
Only one bounty left to give on the Gitz here. Incredibly tight game. We're at 13-14.
I'm actually reading 14 apiece right now on the table.
All right, we may have
and
missed
seeing
something.
as that primacy token there is back in the center.
That's a good call.
I think the players agree.
No fault of Julian's. He has a whole lot of cards to try and keep in views here, so we'll do our best to keep our tracker current.
Right, Prague Danetta does have a range 3 attack. So it looked like Julian moving back to occupy that token, just in case Skyler has designs on it. And Davey, I do want to call out, you were busy doing something important technically earlier, but Mike Brandt did walk by and give you a point, nod, wink, wave. He really likes your outfit.
That's the sort of guy that a point, nod, wink, wave is real valuable.
It's about as enthusiastic as the man can get about anything. So the reroll there on Prague from the stagger looks like it didn't come through for him. Prague ended up not charging. So
I did see a surge, so I think Julian's at 15. Barely off screen, 15.
And Illusory Fighter coming out to get Prague out of danger just in case.
You love to see it. Oh,
and Prague had not charged. That attack was out of the last remaining archer there. So No one within striking range of Galligan now. And with the charge token on, unless Skyler can remove it, there will be no more attacks out of him for now. So moving on to a further back token, likely because he needs to hold one a specific number, perhaps, or holding one in enemy territory. Though he was already on one in enemy territory. So Skyler likely working towards whatever those cards are he didn't score last round. And with only one activation left, you wonder what it is that Onslane's up to.
I think he must have some sort of push or speed upgrade so that Onslane can
get onto one of
there.
those center tokens. He may have vacated that token to leave it available for Onslane to land on. Julian, with only Prague left to activate, you have to wonder if he's going to try and use that or if he'll take the focus action here.
We can't quite see Julian's activation counters. Who do we think? Who do we remember went first in this round?
I want to say that Skyler did because he immediately charged onto that center token there.
Yeah, I think that's
so
correct.
I believe that Julian will have the last laugh. So he may be focusing here to have more resources to use in whatever he needs for his final activation. Or he could charge Prague to allow Zarbag one last chance.
Prague getting a charge in. That will get the Gitz to a charged outright.
Thinking better of it. It's a charge. We'll have a stagger reroll. One success.
Gallian's still on guard, so
Julian not making them use of that reroll, but would likely have not been able to deal with them anyway. Delving the token back.
Skyler not scoring anything for defending that. Ooh, and here's a good point. Let's see. All fighters do have charge tokens.
Each player can only delve once per turn. And so there may be a bit of a cat and mouse here of who delves first to have only one token in that territory, whether one or both players need to score based on that. Another ploy played here on Galligan. I can't quite see which one that is. It looks like actually a 0 glory upgrade.
There's a good chance that Skyler could be working towards Arena Mortis. That would be 4 bounty worth of fighters, all with charge tokens in a single territory. There are charge tokens galore out there, but he would have to figure out a way to get Onslane in. And so this is, I think, push through where Galligan's going to take 1 damage and then will activate as if he has no charge tokens.
Yes, in their next action step, they may use core abilities if they did not have any move or charge. So he has the capacity to charge again, should he like. And
Canny Sapper. So Canny Sapper is out. This is going to give him a teleport to a snare hex. Wow.
Then he'll charge from the snare hex.
Yeah.
See if he can close Zarbag out.
I wonder if this is going to get him Arena Mortis here.
Well, if he attacks Zarbag, that will reduce the total bounty.
It would.
Zarbag's still worth 1 because there are 3 fighters left on the board.
Zarbag will also be able to just exit the area if
that's
Julian
what
is
Julian
keeping
needs
his
in order to
eye
block
on it.
Arena Mortis. Hopefully we aren't saying that too loud to influence the outcome of the game, but that may be the difference maker should Skyler be able to score Arena Mortis if it is in his hand. Skyler passing powers. Julian nodding his head, taking a look at his hand one more time.
Julian sticking with it after some heavy losses early. He really had a great first round of scoring and has kind of been steady ever since.
Yeah. So I would imagine Arena Mortis is true because Skyler choosing not to charge with that. Skyler now looking through his scored and discarded objectives, making sure their count is correct because with the game this tight, it honestly could go either player's way in this end phase. They want to know just how far ahead Julian is to allow him to make the right decision with his final activation.
Skyler looking towards the ceiling, taking a deep breath. I think we're seeing a focus.
Discarding headlong charge.
That's Bloody Momentum, I think, or Brute Momentum, something Momentum.
No, that's an upgrade.
That the objective he's discarding here.
The objective he's discarding.
That one's going to be out of Reckless Fury.
It is out of Reckless Fury, and the name of it is Bloody Momentum. Score this in an end phase of 2 or more friendly fighters with a total bounty of 4 or more upcharge tokens an enemy. So because Onslane wasn't able to manufacture that, he cannot score it. He's already abandoned enemy territory. So yes, Skyler taking a focus with his final action.
Skyler just played a gambit, said the only thing that Julian is allowed to do
is
next
to
round,
charge, which is brutal. So
Zarbag is stuck.
Not able to run away. Now, Zarbag Inspired does have a range 3 attack. And he could potentially move 3 away from Gallingan, but that would not leave him in neutral territory.
I guess I thought that Zarbag might have a charge token hidden in there. But
he does actually already, yes. So that means that's true. Even more effective.
Yeah.
Julian not able to charge, actually only able to charge, and since he cannot charge, he has no fighter actions he's capable of taking, leaving Julian with literally only the option to focus here.
Skyler
Julian clapping his hands at the power of that play.
Yeah. Ooh. So 15-14, we think.
Julian simply passing, and they're heading to scoring now. Skyler scoring the Broken Prospects, because currently no objectives are held by his... Well, I'm not sure. Oh, he delved an enemy fighter's held token. Arena Mortis is scored. And he's also scored the card...
Against the Odds, I think.
Yes, which would be delving an odd token. Broken Prospects there scored as well. And Strip the Realm! Strip the Realm! Skyler throws his head back and screams, 3 glory for your enemy holding no tokens. Julian ending on 20, Skyler ending on 19. You get the impression out of both players that they thought that Skyler had this after that you must charge play, and Julian somehow, against the odds even, against the odds, coming out on top. So incredibly tight game.
That's what we want to see for our first game out of it. I'm really excited. I think they're going to make a good entire match of this one.
I would say so.
Really big brain plays, and Julian was making his plays early on. He had some tough choices to make about where he was going to position, and he made the right choices there. It was all about that one archer at the back standing on a treasure token.
I'm not sure there's much more Skyler could have done. He found a way to get Arena Mortis. He found a way to prevent Zarbag from doing anything. Basically forced Julian into having only 3 activations in round 4. What more could a man have done? I don't think there was anything he could have done. And then I guess the difference maker now will be, as we discussed earlier, we said we're not sure if one or either player is carrying Strip the Realm, and we now know that at least Julian is. Yeah. Skyler has that information, and that may affect what he does going forward for the next game or 2.
Absolutely. You know, if Skyler had known for sure that was in hand, he gives up a 2 glory end phase to go stand on a token. And that he would give up his 2 glory to deny a 3 glory if he was standing on a treasure. That would make it a tie, but I think Zarbags would have still retained the tiebreaker because they would have probably been on more collective treasure tokens. So I think in that case, Zarbag delves one more time, perhaps.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
In order to get that 3, because again, like I said, that cat and mouse. If Skyler delves to block it, Julian has his delve left.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a who blinks first situation in that Pillage and Plunder mirror. Also, interesting to note that despite the fact that Skyler scored no cards in his second end phase and held all 3 of those cards, he still managed to reach 19 glory in this game.
Yep.
So
if
he does get a little smoother scoring next game, we might see him crack 20 pretty early.
Yep.
Comment in the chat that Strip the Realm is a very greedy card. I can't help but agree. In my initial pairings, looking through things, I thought, 3 glory is great. Strip the Realm has good counterplay.
Yep.
Which, a 3 glory objective should be counterable.
Yep.
But now that Skyler knows, he's going to be able to all game long think about that, and Julian is less likely to score it unless he gets a lot of kills early.
Right.
But in a best of three, winning one game is a huge thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That is the card that allowed him to take game one. So
yeah.
in Julian's mind, you got to imagine it was still worth it. Julian also getting boards this time. So Skyler given a bit of a, I wouldn't say resignation, but you got to imagine there's some anxiety on his side of the table.
I think so. Skyler's still fresh. It's early in the day, which increases his chance to make adjustments on the fly. Later, as you get more fatigued, it gets harder and harder to be able to do that.
Yeah, many players pretty burned out by the end of their third round yesterday.
Julian electing to go with no block hexes, and he's looking for the wide orientation here, the one we call fives. I think he must like this because he's got at least 2 pairs of starting hexes together. Increases his scurry options
more scurry
right out of the gate.
at the beginning of the game.
See what he does with placement. Now he knows that Skyler's running Canny Sapper as an upgrade. He's going to know that Stagger Hex is a potential landing site for one of those burrowing tree people. Brandon, I think they are, but honestly, looking at their body language, they're doing pretty great. I think they're matching each other's energy real well. I think they've done a lot to kind of defuse that, make sure they're both enjoying the game. I think they were both analytical, thinking hard about the game, but they're commiserating and enjoying each other's failures and successes there.
Worth noting as well, as we said at the start, these players are both 2 and 3 right now, so a win gives you a chance at advancing to the championship stage, but nothing is guaranteed. So plenty to play for, but you can imagine 2 players who are looking at having a 4 and 2 record at the end would be feeling much differently.
Yeah.
So, obviously you want to win and you hope for the best, but it's possible that neither of these players are advancing, and they do both know that. So maybe a little bit less pressure in that sense.
Daniel Knight, your comment was a little back in time from us, so I think we inadvertently answered your question before we even saw it. So, I'm going to say this: I didn't know that 5s and 9s came from Battle Mallet, but I believe it.
It did. That was the first place I heard it, and I immediately took to it because it's intuitive, easy to remember, catchy, and it comes from a group of great guys. So 5s and 9s is what I've been calling it all tournament long. I imagine I will continue unless someone comes up with something better. But so far, I haven't heard it.
These brightly colored decks being cut and moved around out there, it feels like I might be watching some sort of toddler educational television something.
I've been watching a lot of that at home recently, and I think I agree. All right, players drawing their cards. Notably, in second edition, you draw your hand and make your mulligan decision prior to feature token placement. So that does inform what you're going to do. Julian,
Dale,
given kind of a grimace
your boy
based on
James
the cards
is not the only one to have drommed Skyler yesterday. Skyler, like all the players here, have experienced a lot of drom. We are going to be experiencing a lot more drom coming up in the next few rounds, I think, as we make the cut.
Likely so, yeah. We don't want to oversaturate the viewers with drom, especially drom mirrors, but depending on how they perform, we may not be able to avoid that for long. So,
Brandon, I will drop a link in here with the standings for the tournament so far. It is a little bit hazy because they're in different pools, but best coast pairings, you can see how individual players have done.
Yeah, so it'll say so-and-so is ranked first and second and third in the tournament and so on, but what matters right now is who is first through fourth in a given pool.
That's right.
So if you're highly ranked overall, in the top 16 overall, it does not mean you're going to make it into the top 16 for that top cut, because you're standing within your pool is what matters.
smile on both players' faces as they get ready to throw down for
Game 2.
round 2.
Notably, this match is being featured in Pool 4 and has been referred to by the judging staff as the Gladiator Pit. It seems like there's some incredibly high-powered players, some returning Worlds competitors, some of them top 8. A lot of incredibly potent warbands in that Pool 4. So for both of these players to still be on the potential edge of making it to the next stage says a lot about how well they played to this point.
Slippy, I'm going to take a look. The schedule for today is a little off kilter from the original plan. It basically mirrors yesterday for the timing of the rounds, but I'll read those off real quick here.
John Bormore confirmed to me earlier today that he plans on working through his lunch to do the pairings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if we'll have time, but I might want to pick him up a sandwich or something because I think they're going to be going full bore the entire day.
So today, it's we're going to give you Atlanta times, and you're going to have to make the correction for yourself here. But round 1 was 8:30. I said I'm going to try and do them. 8:30 here. That would be we started at 1:30 UK time. Round 2 would be 12:30 here. That'd be same as 5:30 p.m. UK time. And round 3 will start 4 p.m. here, the same as 9 p.m. UK time. And then for tomorrow, Sunday, we are looking at a 9 a.m. start here. That'll be for round 3 of the championship round. That would be 2 p.m. in the UK. And round 4 would be at 2 p.m. here, which would get you all the way to 7 p.m. in the UK.
Comment in the chat about rules embargoes dropped today and the new reworked warbands look amazing. I have to say I agree. I think almost all of them have something interesting to offer. We've tried to feature several of them throughout the course of this coverage. So Ylthari's today. We had Headsman's Curse, Grimwatch, Kagra yesterday, Drom the day prior. There's a lot of cool stuff out there that isn't at this tournament or hasn't been featured on the stream. And if you'd like to read up on how it is, go ahead and head over to What the Hex and see content for all the decks and all the warbands, including Grandfather's Gardeners and Jaws of Eitzel, who are not at the tournament today. So lots and lots of reading to do if you're tired of watching me talk.
I can say that our particular group of players in our podcast are pretty excited about those 2 new warbands. I really like the Gardeners. I think they're really fun. I think I will burn my brain out trying to manipulate that cycle. And then Phil, as a Seraphon enjoyer, big fan of the Jaws.
Dinos on the brain for him from day
3
one.
3 clack tracks and a pile of snakes. Why not?
1 clack truck was fun enough. I can't imagine how much fun I'm going to have with 3. Right, so treasure tokens are down. 1 in neutral territory as is required, and then 3 on the Gitz side. So Desolate Homeland, a possible score for Skyler right out the gate. We probably imagine that, like last game, we'll be spending most of the action on the Gitz side of the board. So 3 tokens there leaves both players options open for delving.
I do want to shout out Skyler's Miniatures. They are he was deciding a warband, and the painting rules that were nudged. Those who have been listeners for multiple matches already know, but because of the nature of the release, how close the release of 2nd edition was, and the embargoed content was to this, players were given permission to bring unpainted miniatures as long as they brought something they had previously painted for the purposes of paint judging. Skyler wanted to make sure he repped paint on the board, and so he hit up Madison's own Paven with these beautiful Yltharis that he's got out here. So, Paven, if you're out there, these are your boys. Marcin, I don't know anything about when an official errata will drop. I think it's clear that GW will use some information they gleaned from this event.
Crit beats sword, so yeah. Julian has priority. Skyler drawing his card.
We think we're starting it off with another, I don't know why you wouldn't, another squig charge.
And he's got a 3 wound fighter in range.
Yeah. I know that the warbands that were at the top of the pile for best painted have been photographed by Brian, one of the judges here. I don't have the capability of showing them to you on stream. I'm just not that technically proficient yet. We literally are doing this for the first time.
I will tell you that I took some relatively low-quality cell phone photos of all the contestants yesterday and put those on the various Facebook pages and some of the Discords as well. So if you want to get a glimpse, I don't know which ones advanced to the showcase stage and which ones are considered eligible for top score, but you can peruse all of them as well as a couple of the on-the-table warbands at your leisure on Facebook if you have access to those groups.
Julian with his first turn.
And one crit versus one shield. Throwing a prog Donetta, tossing someone back into that stagger hex, and putting 1 damage out on the archer. Interesting choice, but it does get him onto treasure token 4, which you know Skyler was probably planning to land on himself. So
yeah,
token occupancy is the name of the game in 2nd edition, and Julian, a savvy enough player to know that squig charge will be available later, but token 4 might not be.
And here you go with the delves again.
Question in the chat from Marcin Gorzlak. Yes, there is a change to the scurry. We have a event-specific FAQ in errata, which has not been published publicly. It may change before it reaches the public, but for the purposes of today's game, scurry says you choose another fighter who has no move or charge tokens, and you may use that ability once per turn. So Julian able to move adjacent fighters, but only one at a time, and they can't have already been scurried that round. So a little less mobility than we saw in the initial outset. That said, Julian's still able to make great use of it last game and has himself well positioned to do so again. And the squigs can both trigger scurry and scurry themselves, so more flexibility there than we've seen in the past as well.
And we've seen it makes for some surges that score very nicely. Share the load being scored.
He was able to catch
typically
that in
something
one
that's going to take
activation.
you 2 actions to do it in one.
Doesn't even need to burn a sidestep for it. So Gitz, as prior, well positioned to do some of those positional plays. And seeing as they're so easy to take off the table, it seems like it's well balanced to me. Just a move out of Skyler to get onto that treasure token, placing a power card off to the side for his inspiration. And
I think it's going to be awfully hard to keep Onslane there.
She is staggered because of the stagger hex he got pushed into.
Staggered, yeah. She's staggered on 1 dodge.
Now he's delving it, so at least she'll be in cover, and that doesn't really hurt him because he was already staggered. Which again, for those who have not played a lot of or looked at the 2nd edition rulebook, you can delve while staggered now, as long as you're only delving 1 time per turn per player. Skyler explaining something mechanically about his warband. I can't hear him from here, but it appears Julian has nodded his understanding.
This guy's going to have to keep at the forefront, making sure that he always ends around with one of his fighters on a treasure token. He can't afford to accidentally give a 3 glory.
If you give Julian a 3 glory score early, he'll inspire and run away with it. So
that is another thing to think about with those, as Eva's Underworlds described as a greedy card, which it is a reach, but it creates this pressure on Skyler throughout the entirety of the game until he sees that scored or discarded. It's
and as he starts losing fighters, that's going to be harder and harder to do.
Yeah.
So you cannot leave it unheld, and standing on the cover side of a token is not going to satisfy that condition. So
Skyler claiming the prize.
Claiming the prize as the underdog, delving in his own territory.
Julian had like a coordinated song and dance for that one too, so that was interesting. Once again, Skyler being very methodical with his setups. So his surged into objective, took a peek at it, put it face down to make sure his opponent knows that he's not scoring something else this turn that he shouldn't have. And then putting a growth counter so that he can't get to it without growing his buried card there.
Yeah, courteous behavior for his opponent and also dependability for himself. You don't want to leave something on the table by not placing one of those growth counters when you wish you had.
Skyler's able to accelerate those Inspire's last game with some early kills. not 100% clear where he might get those right now. He has some options, but it's going to involve pushing forward, incurring some risk.
Choosing to take a move action at the start. That token was roughly out of range for any of the Gitz to get to, so it's possible he doesn't have many of his attack-based scoring in hand right now and is working on token occupancy instead for this turn. And Julian having delved for his third time. Skyler delving again, likely holding the same card in that case.
Interesting. We have
great fortitude being given out to one of the squigs.
Wow.
Elevating him to a 3-wound status.
Chonky squig.
Thick with 2 C's, that mushroom boy.
Julian must be concerned about giving up that early glory again, giving those early accelerations on Inspires. Here comes Skyler's second activation. It is a charge.
Right into a surrounded situation and does not have the upgrade that ignores flanked and surrounded results, nor is he inspired to gain brutal. 1 success with a reroll, still 1 success. And that's 1 success.
That is a success as well.
So Skyler can drive back here if he'd like. And it appears that the answer is yes, I'll be doing that. Freeing up that token, or at least keeping it out of Julian's hands for now.
Forgot to take note early on of where Snurk is. Snurk is, for those who aren't quite seeing it, he's just east of the Stagger Hex in the Gitz territory.
Yeah, pretty much center of the board there, so Skyler will have to choose a top or bottom flank.
Skyler just busted out one of his War Scroll abilities. This is the teleport. So after an action, this one does not really care about how many fighters you have alive or dead. It is a pick up another fighter and place them next to one of yours. So friendlies, obviously. Specifically the dwindling. Use this immediately after your action step. Pick up friendly fighter, remove that fighter from the battlefield, and place that fighter in an empty hex adjacent to a friendly fighter.
Really interesting ability. In this case, we see it's using to steal a token, which in the Pillage and Plunder aspect of Skyler's deck can be very powerful. But he also is paired with Reckless Fury. So we know he wants to be charging.
Mm-hmm.
If you charge a fighter and then teleport another fighter next to them, you can charge deeper into enemy territory with that second fighter in almost a leapfrog game. So 2 different ways this can benefit Skyler, and in this particular deck pairing, a very powerful ability to have.
I'm interested. He seemed to choose Ylthari to put there. I guess maybe the idea of having 2 dodge and cover means he feels more likely he'll stay there. So this seems like valuing that token more so than valuing the damage, because Gallingen getting in there, I suppose they're both doing 2 damage at range 1. Gallingen, until inspired, is not sporting that brutal.
Which would have come in pretty good handy right there. Question in the chat: how do you guys rate brutal as an attack ability overall? It's hard for me to say, having only played a couple games and just watched a few like you have. I think in the right situation, obviously, any one of these abilities is going to be great. But generally speaking, unless you are playing into a swarm with movement like this, the attacker should be manufacturing scenarios where their opponent isn't flanking them. So I think I generally rate it the least valuable of the rune marks.
Mm-hmm.
But in this match, it actually did come in handy last game, and we expect may come in handy this one as
well. Oh, is that an illusory fighter play?
Snurk has made himself over on the side of the board, so if there's some drive back there, 2 damage onto Ylthari and 1 more from spin-in could finish her off. Skyler countering with adding an upgrade to Scythael there. I'm not sure which one that is. It looks like it's for 2 glory. high five across the table.
Sidestep being played. It might have been Canny Sapper. It is Canny Sapper. So Skyler's going to get a sidestep out of this. So he's teleporting.
Not just sidestep. He's actually put himself into that stagger hex there.
Oh, Tunneling Terror. He's getting both fighters out of dodge. How about that play? Tunneling Terror to pull Ylthari into the stagger hex, and then Gallingen using Canny Sapper to also get away from Snurk. That's 3 teleports Skyler's used just in
the span of one power step.
Wow.
And
then one from the Zarbags. That was a great play. Setting up, I love the idea of like, hey, I am the only one in the game who has lethal hexes now. I guess that's not true. Thundrick's got one in certain circumstances, but being able to position that.
A lethal hex that you can move where you want.
Yeah.
Julian putting that out there, and then even though it's probably backbreaking to his plans, a great sportsman-like high five across the table saying, you just got way out of danger.
Yeah.
However, he did still force Skyler to use a lot of resources for that safety, which he will not have later, and come round 3, he might regret not having those available.
Yeah, and abandoned one of the only tokens that he was on. So Anslane's camping tent that she set up there is more and more important. Also, Snurk is now got some positioning trouble all the way in the corner of the board.
Well in the corner with no enemies nearby.
Yeah.
And that teleport already used. Might not play a very large role in the game moving forward.
So Daniel, that question was asked yesterday, whether the benefits of cover offset the downfalls of being staggered. And there are too many variables for us to answer that. Our brains do not manage that math well enough. But you can say this, that certainly the more defense dice that you have, the better it gets. And conversely, what kind of successes or how many dice the opponent is rolling. I think the more dice they have, the less crucial it is that they have that reroll.
So Julian pretty intelligently using a scurry to get Snurk out of that corner, as we talked about. Not useful there, but not a problem anymore either.
Yeah. Snurk is in a valuable spot. Stagger.
Roll from stagger. Result of 2 hammers. Skyler will roll. He's got himself 1 dodge and 1 hammer. Looking like Julian missing that attack. Skyler wondering how he wants to respond.
I realize I've been misspeaking. I think I was describing Gallingen getting out of there. Was course of Scythael. Gallingen is still being Gallingen from last game and standing still.
He's just waiting for his moment.
Onslane turning it back into a treasure. Skyler needs to be careful here. Onslane, he can't guarantee Onslane is going to still be there. Skyler will have the final action of this round. So maybe he feels confident that he can just walk back on if he gets driven off.
Maybe.
I don't see any Gitz that are close enough to get on and get an overrun to claim it from him.
No, I don't believe so. Zarbag uninspired is only 3 moves, so even with his range 3 being able to push her off, he can't then take it himself.
Gallien coming in. I got to imagine this is a squig attack.
I would think so.
Oh, no.
No,
right
he
there.
is going for Prague. He wants that token. He's got the reroll from Stagger. Skyler rubbing his eyes, wondering how much he wants to fish for a crit here.
I don't think I would do it.
Does he have scoring tied to that? He says, no, I'm not rerolling, keeping 2 hammers. Julian with the crit, standing fast.
That was what Skyler was worried about.
Both fighters making some loud noises. He does, however, score a card from Pillage and Plunder. Name of that card. Apologies, that is not a Pillage and Plunder card. That is a Reckless Fury card. And it's called Best Foot Forward. Immediately after a friendly fighter's successful attack, if that fighter has any charge tokens and is in enemy territory.
Did it say successful?
It did. Some of these cards operate under the concept of successful attacks and some don't, and it's pretty easy to miss that. He may have been showing it saying, I didn't score this.
That's true.
I don't know that he's picked up the glory for it.
I think they're about to sort it out. Oh, it was successful. It was a successful
Oh,
attack.
it was a successful attack after all.
Because the crit was a stand fast, but there were
But
two
he
successes
did do
there.
-1. Oh, that's it. That was our mistake then. It was a successful attack, but what really mattered in that situation was the drive back, and he didn't get it.
I look forward to the chat catching up in about 3 more seconds and correcting us.
Yeah, so Crit's not winning all as they used to, and Davey and I are old dogs who are slow to learn new tricks.
We've had years to hardwire our brains to fear and respect the crits above all else.
All right, that is Blade Catcher there, so no rune marks on weapon abilities are going to be useful against whichever fighter Skyler places this on, and that is Ylthari herself. So no cleave, no ensnare, no brutal, no grapple, and perhaps most importantly, no grievous. Question in the chat from Marson: would Snurk's spinning damage be reduced to 0 by the thricefold evasive ability?
So the thricefold's evasive ability is on the 2 evasive fighters. That would be the ones that are not Vexmore. There's a hammer or a crit every time. They can roll a dice every time they're damaged. On a hammer or crit, they reduce it by 1. The specific reading of that might lead you, like, you're not actually modifying the value of that attack, but it has been ruled that you cannot reduce that down to 0.
Yeah, and so you could say that it's not even an attack. Snurk's damage just happens, but the evasive ability reads when they would be dealt damage. It doesn't say where it comes from, so power cards, etc. But unless otherwise specified in our rule set, no thing can be reduced to 0. So yes, they could roll for evasive if they felt the need, but it would still deal the damage to that fighter.
The amazing VHS. Chosen Axes have one of the legacy war scrolls, so they're one of the war bands where they have fighter cards and then a Grand Alliance, their choice of 2 Grand Alliance war scrolls that they can use generally for casual play. I promise I have no inside knowledge on this, but I have to imagine with how often they're shown in the art of the cards and the photography, I have to imagine that at some point in the future we're going to see them.
You're telling me we're going to spend a couple years in Akshi and we're not going to see any Fire Slayers?
I don't believe it.
All right, looks like we have a Squig charge coming in here.
A little help from... Oh, it's Drizgit charging with a little help from
the
a
Squig is coming along to provide flanked. Oh,
that flank helped. The Squig helping out.
One shield also working for him, though. And...
Get stuck in.
Scored. So regardless of the success on this one, the attack was made. Julian scoring a surge for that. And as it was a draw, there is a drive back there.
Samsky summing up the state of the Chosen Axes a little more concisely than I was able to. I appreciate the assist.
All right. So
I was wondering how Skyler was going to deal with that.
Charge token being given, and now they're charged out, and Arena Mortis again possible now. Julian did come into that territory with the charge token to score his card, and it might have just granted Skyler 2 glory in return.
That was on a knife's edge there.
Yeah, we're currently 4-4, so this end phase is going to be pretty pivotal in determining who's underdog, and that may change what happens as we move forward.
Very different state of affairs where there are no fighters from Zarbag's Gitz have been taken out of action yet. Jake from Goonhammer is weighing in correctly, pointing out that Blade Catcher is actually pretty darn strong. This is the one that turns off rune marks from other weapons. That means it can turn off Grievous, Cleave, and Snare. Really, really flexible.
I was talking to Beard Arm, David Lancaster of Canada, last night at dinner, and he said that might be one of the more impactful cards he's had to deal with all tournament. Blade Catcher is the bane of his existence at current. So I think underrated on first pass by some people, but yeah, it has done a lot of work for many people this tournament.
Skyler, by laying that charge token down, got himself the charged out status, which gave Ylthari herself a surprise attack, which was able to pop a Git off of his cover, getting not only a glory bounty for the kill, but that's going to be an extra growth counter for every one of his cards. So that's 3 cards that 3 cards and 3 inspires they get closer to.
Worth noting that there is only 1 treasure token on the field right now, and you know Skyler's occupying it because he is not about to give up 3 glory in the end phase if he can help it.
Now I wonder, is Julian sitting on drawn in? Did we see that from him last, or is that that's probably not in his or lure of battle? Is
Lure
what
of
I'm thinking.
battle, and I haven't seen it yet this round. Skyler playing a push card of some kind to get onto that feature token.
Little extra insurance to get on a token, just in case something happens with Onslane's position, I think. And honestly, Ylthari is going to be real happy to be there. That's a 2 dice defense in cover.
And in cover now, yes.
Daniel Knight's a great point. Turns off warband specific rune mark, so someone like the Skinnerkin, which are hoping to, generate ham to put it in your terms, will not be able to do that with those particular attacks.
Yeah, that when I did the first read of Skinnerkin, I thought I can make this work, and I didn't know about the existence of Blade Catcher at the time, and maybe a little bit dampening my hopes there. So thanks for that, Dan Knight.
Skyler getting his first Inspire out, getting a power card right before the end of this first round, possibly preferring to get it next. And then he may be putting another one.
But Scythale inspiring as well, which could be very important.
Here's the end phase scores.
So we have Keep Chopping and
Torn Landscape. And hard to tell on the last one. Field of Blood, I'm going to say.
I think that's the case, yes, because there are several wounded fighters out there.
That's going to leave him just shy of the Inspire. That's an interesting side effect of Skyler failing to kill very many. We got.
Yeah, so we're about to see what Skyler scored.
Bloody Momentum, Arena Mortis.
As predicted. So killing fighters actually makes that harder for Skyler to score.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, Julian rocking back, throwing his hands to his head.
Can't believe it because he charged into the territory to allow that to happen.
Yep.
Missed opportunity there for him. It did score him a 1 glory surge, but net loss of 1 and the total lead here as a result. Skyler putting out some upgrades. I think that is Glory Seeker coming out, which is interesting because none of no, that may not be Glory Seeker.
I wonder. I mean, Glory Seeker is not going to do anything.
No value for him having it because none of those fighters are 4 wounds or more.
Julian egging him on, trying to get him to play it.
Yeah, Skyler saying that's a nothing. So he's putting it down likely because he wants to have upgrades out on fighters.
That might be the charge one. Looks like a 0 glory. It might be the out of Reckless Fury for extra move on your charge. I'm tracking. Looks like we're one shy. We missed one on Julian, so he's showing 8 glory on his board. Now, does he need more or the same as glory to be able to inspire his Gitz?
Zarbag's Gitz inspire immediately after your total glory points are equal to or greater than the number of friendly fires on the battlefield.
So as Julian's representing it, he should be getting an inspire kind of across the board here.
And that one goes
the hammer taking
Julian.
it.
Julian just noting that he's inspired, so fortunately they caught that before either player took an activation, and it shouldn't affect the outcome of the game.
That was real close. It was 1 away from not happening. Those squigs actually get awfully accurate here, going up to 3 hammers. And they're both alive. I think they need to be a priority kill for Skyler here.
And now that the inspiration has happened, there's less reason to avoid it. He's already gotten Arena Mortis, so maybe it's time to start taking some heads in order to score his more kill-based objectives. That and prevent Julian from being able to take as many tokens.
Oh, Snurk coming in.
You need one sword, but that's it. Skyler stressing. He'll have to roll a defense and one shield. Not going to do it. So down goes the archer.
To be fair, if Skyler has to give up anyone, it's usually Onslain. Only one bounty
Julian
on her.
shouting to this guy, okay, thank you, Snurk. Snurk not only doing that damage to take the fighter out, but he is now in the dare you come to this token situation.
That's a great point.
Skyler wants to hold that. He'll have to eat at least one damage on his way in.
Julian lamenting not being able to put Snurk on guard. That would be brutal.
It would.
3 dodge on guard in this edition. In this economy? Come on. The one guardian that's inspired is Scythael. Scythael maybe going to try and do a whole lot of work again.
I do remember something about a main character. We might be seeing the second of a potential trilogy of films here.
Scythael probably really wishing that he was already adjacent so it didn't have to. Well, Skyler's fine getting charged out.
And I do see Headcase in his hand, so he'll have access to that earlier than we expected.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, in this exact board state, I'd almost want Galligan to have inspired because he's sitting there surrounded.
Right,
just
in
gets
range
those
of
brutal
everybody.
swings out.
And with Galligan, I believe, accessing Brutal, not too worried about being surrounded.
We currently have the underdog sitting over next to Julian, although it should just be in the middle. I don't think they'll trip him up. I think that might be critical effort in Julian's hand there, so he'll be... Oh, just a guard.
Skyler flipping a token back, seeing as, remember, there's 3 glory and an end phase somewhere in Julian's deck. And since he isn't going to be able to hold token 1, he needs now instead to hold another token. Putting Headcase on Ylthari to be able to charge her out and let his other 2 big guys take more actions this round.
Skyler's played this a lot more than I've seen it. I'm not entirely sure why. Well, here we go.
My guess is he wants to charge with both of the other fighters. He's also placed her on guard.
So he needs a charge token on her to be able to play that.
And then have a charge token and a guard token in enemy territory.
That's right.
But also to allow 2 attacks out of each of his other fighters. Julian saying that card is the new Earthworks, for those who remember one of my favorite old decks, Fearsome Fortress. Just drop a guard token on someone and find yourself a glory.
Okay.
Skyler really does want that token, but
Sure
finds
does.
a way to only take 1 of Snurk's
Willing to take
damage while he gets on it. He's using a once per game War Scroll ability here to add dice to this attack, needing to charge and cut through 3 dodge on Snurk. He'll need all the accuracy help he can get. Not inspired, so no ensnare here, but 2 crits and a success. Great roll out of Skyler.
But actually defendable.
And unfortunately for Julian, not today. There, the load is coming out, and
Living Bludgeon.
He's also got that guard token we talked about before. So
yeah, Living Bludgeon is the what you had identified as the guard and charge here. Skyler popping to 11.
Slain fighter, much safer backfield, and 2 surge scores.
He must have had great strength out there that I didn't see, because he had enough damage to do it. What a play! So we'll give him the bounty as well, getting him to 12. Wow, big trade there. Onslane going down, but Snurk going down in return.
And now Galligan is inspired, so
just in time too.
Just in time. He'll have that brutal. He'll have 2 damage, and if he needs it, he'll have a range 2 to pick away at someone who tries to get out of town.
And perhaps more importantly, because it's about to be Julian's turn, he's got 2 block. Julian not with very appealing targets out there right now. Ylthari on guard on treasure, so not in cover.
She is staggered as well, so he does have a chance there. Yeah, 2-block Galligan, not a tempting target.
Well, no, man cover, might as well.
Okay.
Part of the reason we see, I think, so much more delving, other than the scoring, is that the ability to delve when you're already staggered
means you can kind of do it as you want, and sometimes you want to be on cover for that extra defense. Sometimes you want it to be on treasure for a score condition. Being able to do it only once per power step per player, though, does help limit some of the abuse cases there. So, interesting little balancing trick the team has done to make that an exciting new version of this game.
Capsule, I think you may be asking who won the first match, and that went to the Gitz by a single glory.
Single glory and a surprise big end phase.
Both
players not anticipating
huge
that.
end phases. It was really cool.
Julian up 1-0 on the match score, but playing a best of 3, and Skyler looking like he does have a chance to take this second game, so we might force a third.
Might be Duelist, I think, going down on Drizgit.
I believe it was Duelist, yes.
Got
that
a sidestep.
Like what the card art was.
Galligan saying, I may have 2 block, but I'd rather not be surrounded if it's all the same to you.
Still flanked, but every side of the die counts.
It's a good point. There's a good chance with Scurry that he's going to get surrounded anyway. Must be something he likes about that position in particular. Because he could have just stepped kind of to the southwest and been adjacent to nobody.
But that's true, but there may be a reason he wants to be there. Potential to put some damage on Zarbag, I'm not sure.
I believe that's Keen Eye going on Drizgit too, so that'd be an extra attack dice. Is Drizgit still a menace on 3 hammers when he is inspired?
Drizgit, when inspired, is rolling 3 hammers for 2 damage, yes. So now he'll have 4 hammers.
Sneaky little devil. And is he speed 3 or 4?
Drizgit inspired, speed 3.
Okay.
Short legs can only get you so
That's
far.
a big. That's an important one because it means
he's carrying
that,
a big old thing on his back. So, you try hoofing it with that.
I wouldn't want to. All 3 Guardians inspired now. We still have a growth token out. I guess that one's just going to be a card growing into Skyler's hand. Wings of War. Scythale.
Zarbag getting himself to a safer position. Scurry to get some support.
It's interesting. Drizgit is the one that got all the extra offensive help, and then Zarbag is the one who decided to go jogging off.
Would it have been a feint to get Skyler to do something, or is he planning on using Drizgit later on? I suppose time will tell.
2 attack profiles on Zarbag. He actually has a ranged attack if he were to use it here for some reason.
It has more accuracy, but less damage.
Looks like that's what he went for. These guys really valuing that token. That is 4 successes.
No
Skyler
crit.
hoping for a
Means,
crit, not getting it.
There will be a drive back here. No overrun, so you'll have to use a push to get on it. But he is keeping Skyler off of it. And remember, folks, there is a 3 glory end phase hiding somewhere in that deck for Skyler holding nothing.
Now, Skyler is fairly safe on that unless he's worried about some sort of a
distraction type
push.
effect.
Yeah.
Well, we do remember from last game, since Julian's taken Blazing Assault, he does have Lure of Battle.
Oh, that's true.
So should he find a way to manufacture positioning, he could, at the last minute, yank Ylthari off that token.
So Skyler needs to be building redundancy. He wants to make sure that he's got 2 on there before entering that last power step. Galligan could potentially be tempted to come after Zarbag, who is in killable range. But I think he'd be wiser to get himself on a token.
In the chat, Mr. Matikba, Skyler today is using Pillage and Plunder and the just previewed Reckless Fury. So he's doing a little bit of delving and token occupancy and a little bit of charge token manipulation. So kind of an interesting flex aggro approach.
Oh, look at that. Handed off a charge token from Skithale over to Gallingen. And now Skithale is going to be able to get back on that token.
That is an excellent choice.
Or run around the long way.
Or run around if he doesn't want that one anymore.
Yeah, Skithale has the +2 move when charging upgrade on, which is how he's getting so much across the board.
All the way
this is going to be a
there.
pretty accurate attack. We're going to go, I believe, 3 hammers with ensnare into 2 dodge. Or 4. Oh, my goodness. Adios, Squig.
You know, that Squig is in neutral territory, so it's possible that this will also score him aggressive claimant. I don't know that Skyler has that card.
Ooh,
but he has a lot of stuff to heal
too.
up, which could be very big for him.
Julian commending that play. Skyler flipping through his scored objectives, trying to get a sense of what he can expect. And a dice going under the table.
And
these are nervous moments. Hopefully
they got it. All right.
We weren't sure if somebody's going to fall out of a chair or knock a tripod over
or
unplug
unplug the camera somehow, but we got away with it.
Not exciting for you guys. We'll say it was very exciting for us.
All right, so there is that utter ignorance. If you kill me, I come back with 1 wound, which means effectively telling Julian, you go ahead and leave Skithale alone. Main character story continues.
Willing to stagger himself. So I think Skyler likes his spot here now. He's kind of got his fighters entrenched. A lot of charge tokens over there. And if nothing else, then Ylthari can start lashing out shots, try and scatter some damage on some of these fighters.
Drizgit, of course, with those offensive upgrades and has not activated yet.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
There is a chance that he can charge into a staggered Skithale, and, well, you won't be able to kill him thanks to utter ignorance.
Yeah.
At least displace him from that token.
Well, I don't think he's got... Because he's got Keen Eye, and I believe he's got Keen Eye and Duelist. So with that heal that Skithale got, Skithale's out of kill range now.
Yeah, well, that's not relevant to the token capture,
That's
which
true.
I think could
That's
be part of
point.
the plan here. So Drizgit comes in, plus dice, stagger reroll, knocks Skithale out, and Duelist's on. And that could be important for one or both players' end phases. So no, Skithale not able to be slain, but not necessarily a bad idea for...
Yeah, if I'm Skyler right now, I'm very interested in how many power cards Julian's holding, because that tells me...
I'm wondering if one of those is going to pull one of my fighters away.
Skyler has used his ability for the round, so he does not have that built-in push.
Looks like we have a shot coming out of the archer there. The reroll from stagger,
reroll, and there's nothing there.
Not going to be enough. And with her being on guard, not going anywhere.
And in cover.
Interestingly, Julian not taking the volley action. Suppose he doesn't see the point if he didn't hit the first attack. All right, so Skyler making sure he's got the tokens, putting himself in a flanked position.
Yeah, obviously can't charge because he already had a charge token, but he's willing to make that move. Going in right next to Drizgit. We already described how much accuracy Drizgit is packing.
And you add flank to that from the Squig. Could be in harm's way, but Skyler making the estimation that having those tokens is more important than physical safety at the moment.
And it's not a given being 2 block in cover. Another player coming to Skyler's aid. I think maybe getting Skyler some water. All right, here's that Drizgit. We've been waiting for it. We're finally getting it. I think this is going to be 4 dice, 4 hammers.
4 hammers, and
3
with
of
1
them,
reroll,
and
he gets
3 of
himself 3 successes, but no crits. And Skyler
And there is a crit.
rolling a
Wow.
crit in response, so
That's clutch.
that is tough.
Oh.
4 crits means stand fast. Julian really wants that token, but not today. So Duelists over there instead to say, well, please don't kill me in response. I might want myself alive for next round.
I heard your sword is pretty good.
Skyler flipping some tokens just in case there's any silliness going on. We haven't seen Julian switch things up, but you don't want to accidentally find yourself after delving under a cover hex again.
Skyler's got a 4 glory lead. I wonder how long Julian carries, not Raised Realm, but
the name of it is
3 glory.
Strip the Realm.
Strip the Realm.
If no treasure tokens are held or are on the battlefield or no enemy fighters hold them. Skyler obviously very aware of that since he lost in the last game. Julian can make use of the threat of that. The moment he discards that card, Skyler knows he doesn't have to think about that anymore. So even if Julian isn't scoring it, it is manipulating his opponent's behavior. So I could see a use case for keeping or discarding it. Julian pretty excited with that result.
Failing to produce, somebody looked like a 3 dice attack, so I'm thinking it was Ylthari at range, not being able to do anything to the Gitz around her. The second time that Skyler has kind of counted out power cards. I wonder if there's a particular card he's hoping to get, doing some math on whether he should play out upgrades so that he can get to the rest, or if he knows that he's drawn so many that
counting the upgrades
that he's just going to draw them all up anyway. We're into the end phase. Against the odds, Julian has delved a odd treasure token.
And drawing his new cards now, that means that may be the only one he scored. Discussing some things that happened during the round. So also against the odds for Skyler. And Broken Prospects.
That's a 5 glory end phrase from Skyler, with only 1 on Julian. And then knowing that Julian's big catch-up card right now is one that he is working very hard to deny. I think Skyler's adapted very well to what happened to him in the first game of the match.
Notably, Julian not discarding either of the other objectives in his hand.
True.
So is he holding on to that and trying to get it later? Is he trying to fake Skyler into thinking that's the case? Or is he opting just to not reveal additional information since he sees this as a lost game and they're going to be going to a third?
Yeah.
Could be any of the 3.
Now, I wouldn't be able to do this. Remember enough power cards out of my opponent's.
Skyler might, though.
But he might. And Skyler has drawn all his power deck, so Julian theoretically could have perfect knowledge on what remains in the hand if he saw everything the first time around.
Julian looking over and laughing at us now.
I'm sure it's because of our dignified appearance.
Tiebreaker. Tiebreaker going here to Julian being the underdog.
All right.
He says, okay, I like it. Happy enough. Do you see a path back for Julian? Right now, I see him down by 8. Having priority is fine, but only a couple fighters left. Skyler relatively survivable and in 3 token occupancy right now. If I'm Julian, I'm thinking it might just be time to head on to game 3. But
interesting to go after Ylthari here.
Charging Drizkit in early. We know he has the offensive upgrades. Scurry onto a token.
Yep.
Maybe this is my unfamiliarity with Gitz, forgetting how many tools they do have available.
Yeah.
Julian might not be out of this one yet.
Scythale is available for 2 glory. It's only 2 damage left to give. Although I think he
does have utter ignorance.
Yeah, utter ignorance. So.
And that's 2 successes, 3 successes.
Ylthari with the crit. Going nowhere.
So not moving away, but we'll take the damage. A whole 2 damage there. No, the Standfast reducing damage by 1. My apologies.
Brandon, I'm sure that's it. If we speak a little too loud, sometimes the table hears us. But by and large, about 90, 95, 99% of what either table is hearing can't see either way or be heard one way or the other.
Judge announcing we should be starting game 3, so we are slightly behind schedule here.
And we do look to be going to a game 3.
Yeah, it does appear to be that way.
I don't know if Joshua Davidson is ordering us to do push-ups. I think clearly with our attire, we're the ones who order other people to do push-ups.
That's
yeah.
Call
So
it big
Joshua
coach
Davidson,
energy,
go for
I think. So yes, Joshua, if you want to drop and give me 20, we'll be waiting for you when you get back.
Brandon Huss didn't put witty commentary in quotes, but I feel like they were implied.
I'm going to take him at his word. We're witty gentlemen. Why would he lie about a thing like that?
Skyler counting out some distances here. Skyler considering a few different spots. Scythale, the terror of the Gitz here with that highly accurate ensnare attack. Looking to take out, I think that's Stick It. Could be Dibs as well. 2 successes. Cover will help.
And he didn't roll the right dice.
No,
so
none of those will do the trick.
There's a
That's going to be a
down,
bounty for Skyler.
Bounty for Skyler. Julian getting a squig out of danger there. And that is the plus defense die, as long as I haven't failed a save yet. Or succeeded on a save, my apologies. So
Skyler seeing that Ylthari is in killable range here with only 2 health to give. And a hungry squig at her doorstep.
Right on her doorstep.
Well, the amazing VHS gave us 20. Nice work.
Chosen Axis fan and willing to follow my commands. Those are 2 commendable traits.
I'm sure your form was impeccable.
All right, Squig has taken the token. Remember, in this edition, Squigs can hold objectives. Determined effort as the underdog is plus 2 dice.
Wow, there's going to be a lot
5
of dice in
hammers
this
coming
one.
his way. And that is a crit and 4 successes. Skyler nodding his head. 5 successes. Skyler rolling his defense dice for the hopes of 2 crits, but today is not his day. That'll also score him critical effort. So bounty,
critical effort.
surge, slain leader.
Closing to within 6. You know, critical effort is never guaranteed, but when you're rolling 5 dice with a reroll for stagger,
feels pretty nice.
You'd like to think it's going to happen.
You'd like to think that. But a 1 in 6 odds on 6 tries is actually not guaranteed.
Push through.
Right. Behaving as though he is not charged, but taking a damage.
Still the main character, Scythale.
Yes.
Who do we think he's taking out? Or attempting to take out, we should say.
I'm most scared of Drizgit if I'm him.
Yeah.
But he might be trying to finish off the squig on the token, knowing that he does need the token. So it's a question of, do I cut down on offensive output from Julian, or am I still fighting for possession of those tokens? And it will depend a lot on what Skyler has in his objective deck and what he thinks that Julian has.
I'm trying to read Scathale's upgrades. I know he's got Keen Eye. I know he's got the extra charge distance. He may have great fortitude as well. It's actually pretty clutch right now, giving the vanishing sources of
Charging back,
2 damage.
coming to swing on Zarbag, crit, and 3 hammers.
Wowzers.
Julian
Dodges
rolling his 2
won't help.
dice and no crits there.
Yeah.
Down goes Zarbag. So another bounty for Skyler.
Skyler's happy to just kind of keep pace, trade bounty for bounty here.
Someone interested about why he attacked Zarbag and not Progdenetta, who is standing on a feature token. But if Skyler can manage to access charged out state, then maybe he'll get another swing.
Skyler does still have his War Scroll ability to give for this round.
True. And with 2 slain fighters, he'll get +2 to whatever he chooses.
Yeah. It's my suspicion that Skyler's going to hang on to it for either the teleport, that's the dwindling, or maybe the burgeoning. I think he's going to keep it for the sidestep or the teleport here. We'll see.
Yeah, for those watching at home with less familiarity with Ylthari, unique for them is that they do have 4 separate abilities based on which season you're in. They can use one of them once per round, but they can use the same one all 3 rounds if they want. So some good flexibility there. It's not single use like many other War Scrolls abilities. It's just single use per round. So should you want to sidestep 3 times, teleport 3 times, that is available to you.
Judge coming by letting us know it's likely that this game will go on the clock here. They are running into they're currently entering their 3rd hour of play. They've been playing for about 2 hours and 9 minutes if we count the whole round together. By the time they wrap this up, I'm guessing they'll about 45 minutes for their last one.
Which may go faster as the players have more familiarity with each other's decks. I've gotten warmed up for the day. This is the first game, but yeah, we may see a chess clock on stream for the first time.
Just a move. What do we think that move's doing? Oh, was that a...
It's a move token, and he has Swift Step there to allow him to push after an attack. So Skyler possibly going to swing in for an attack and then try and snag a token afterward. Range 2. Not for the staggered squig, but instead for the archer. Kind of an interesting choice.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the one I would make as well. Nice waft from the background there. If you pick that up, there is a crit and reroll to a success. So 2 dodge on the squig. There's a chance for him to get out of this. Not today.
Nope, not with that.
Only 1 damage at range 2, so driven off the token. And then I expect to see Skyler step back onto that center token, delving it immediately thereafter. Carl Blanc on the chat there. When can we expect to see new fighter cards and war scrolls for warbands like Gore Chosen and Yltharis? That information is available. The embargo date was today, so you can go to content creators pages such as What the Hex and read about those cards there. Many people also dropped podcast episodes today. Those will go up on pre-order so that you can be able to get access to them in, I believe, 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
All right, so both players having determined that Skyler won the second, and so they will be going to a third game. Judge explaining the ins and outs of the time clock they will be using to make sure they keep pace for game 3, because we do need to finish this game on time to allow us to make the top cut. And as we said at the beginning, the winner of this game does have an outside chance to make it into the championship bracket, so they have to finish on time for that consideration if they want to make it into that top cut. So we should expect to see somewhat of faster play in the third round in order to get that in the judges' hands by the end of the pool's play this morning.
You can't see it, but Judge still at the table, just kind of explaining the expectations with this clock. Ironically, burning some clock in the process.
Sometimes you gotta spend some money to make some money, as they say. So, after 2 games, who do you think's got the better chance for game 3?
Well, they're still going here. I think they know.
I think
where
they
it's
know
going.
the result, but they are just finishing out the score.
Yeah,
so the glory total may be slightly different.
I think I'm going to lean in the direction of Skyler ever so slightly on this one. I think that now that he's got the 3 glory score kind of accounted for, he's got a slight advantage there. There's not quite a dead card. We're talking about the kind of pressure it puts on Skyler's positioning, but that impact is real.
So just finishing out this game 2, I think both players have reached the foregone conclusion. But glory totals do matter as a tiebreaker, and seeing as the winner of this game will end on 3-3, that tiebreaker may be the thing that gets them into the cut. Both players incentivized to maximize their score here. So we will finish out the third game on the off chance that that is the thing that makes or breaks their chances for the championship bracket. Got a discussion in the chat that Skyler has a chance to take the third game if he can continue to lock out Strip the Realm. And I can't say I disagree. I think Strip the Realm being 3 glory winning that first game for Julian was huge, but Skyler obviously playing around it every activation of the game. If he can continue to do that while scoring his own cards, I think he's got a pretty good chance to take this set.
I think so.
End on 3-3 for the pool play. That said, right player winning the activation, right player getting some important crits at the right time, it is still anyone's game. Julian might end up having bottom decked that card or be able to discard it early with a focus, and that'll change the shape of the entire game.
So that's going to close out at 17-21 for that one. We had a 1 glory win and then a 4 glory win.
Skyler in a good show of sportsmanship, actually cheering Julian on, trying to get him more hyped up for this. Julian might be feeling a bit discouraged after that, but Skyler not about to let his opponent just give him the win. He wants to earn it.
I don't think Julian did anything wrong. There were a couple crucial single dice crits that kept damage reduced and kept Skyler on tokens. I think they both played really well. And us saying that we think Skyler might have a slight advantage in this doesn't mean that Julian's out of it by any stretch.
I've been wrong a lot of times before. And notably, there was would have been incredibly impactful teleport of the spinning onto the side there, and then Skyler having the double escape that was, in hand available to use. Not something Julian could have predicted. And if Skyler wasn't able to manufacture that scenario, he may have found himself with 2 slain fighters in short order. So should such a scenario arise again without Skyler's advantage, we could be looking at an entirely different game 3 very quickly. Okay, so the players setting up for the third game here. No one is presumed to have won the roll-off since we are in the game 3. So they'll be rolling off again to determine who has control of board state, who places feature tokens, and who places the first fighter. So shuffling of decks, both players thinking about their options. Julian and Skyler talking about their games yesterday. Skyler had a bit of a rough patch. He was doing quite well coming into the second day of pools play, and then had a gauntlet of very powerful opponents and losing some very tight, very close matches, not going his way. I think the both of them have had a similar win path to get to this point, some early success, and then stumbling late. Hoping either one of them to recover now with a chance, glimmer in the distance of maybe making it to that top cut. All right, chess clock being used. It is just out of frame for our camera, but both players tapping the chess clock to make the time flip between them. I did not overhear the judges' instructions about how much time each player has and what happens if one player reaches time, but they are on the clock now, both players occasionally looking over to and tapping that clock to flip time between each other, so we'll see how the time pressure affects each one's decision-making capacity as well. So decks being cut, pass back between players. Pretty soon we should see a draw of hands, and we'll get started on the third game. All right, Skyler electing to mulligan his objective hand. Looks like Julian is keeping both. Time clock ticks back over to Skyler as he considers his options. Does he want to keep his power hand or not? I see head case in there. Not really useful to start the game with 4 fighters, so. But it looks like he's kept it. Shuffling his objective deck back in. Offering a cut to Julian since he has reshuffled his deck. Julian doing a double cut. Make sure things are nice and mixed up in there. And the roll off. Hammers are a tie. There is no tiebreaker to open the game. And a crit wins it for Skyler. So Skyler will have the opportunity to make the decision for boards and orientation. Skyler looking almost like he didn't want to win this roll off because now he has one more hard thing to think about. And I guess we're keeping it exactly the way it is. It worked for Skyler last game. He's opting to not change things for himself here. Julian going through the treasure tokens, shuffling those up. And first token going down must go in neutral territory. So Julian considering his options. All right. Dead center of the 5's orientation goes our first treasure token. Over to Skyler for placing the next. All right, tokens are flipped. Fighters will start to go down now. Julian placing the first token, also placing the first fighter. All right, so assessing the situation, Skyler making a mulligan to his objective deck. Julian happy to keep what he has. Skyler winning the roll-off, keeping the board orientation and territories the same. Tokens are down, only 1 in neutral territory. Fighters being placed. And we'll see the winner of this game with the chance to advance to the pool stage. Chess clock in play. Still plenty of interesting things to come.
Joseph, I see in the chat. I appreciate the feedback on the blogs. Was a lot of work from the team that was also preparing for this stream, preparing to judge and preparing to compete at Worlds. So a big shout out to the team in general.
Yeah, these guys have been pulling triple duty for the last couple of days, and I'm just sitting here casually watching.
I am excited to get out there and read what some other folks have put up because we know our own opinions on it, but would love to see what other people are thinking. Here we go for a roll off.
And again,
swords beating
hammers. So Skyler's just won 2 consecutive roll-offs. He's got to be feeling pretty good about that. Coming off a win and getting 2 great situations out of that opening roll-off, meaning he could be in a very strong position quite early. Shaking hands across the table. Chess clock getting tapped, and we are ready to begin.
Now, Julian used the first activation last game to employ some scurrying to really cover up some of those common objectives. Treasure tokens in the middle. I wonder if Skyler is going to try and do the same. I feel like it puts him in a dangerous position for a counterpunch.
And we do have to be aware of the ever-present threat of Snurk Sourtongue, who is, again, very centrally located on the board.
Yeah.
Being able to be driven back into his radius, or dare he occupy a token.
What is Sourtongue's attack these days?
Sourtongue, uninspired, is going to be throwing 2 swords for 3 damage.
Wow.
So high risk, high reward. But even if he misses, he does have the potential to cause a great deal of damage.
Yeah.
If he can be in the right spot. Not able to be placed on guard means that Skyler will have the opportunity to knock him around a bit with some ranged attacks, but still not something he's going to want to deal with early while they fight for these tokens.
With all due respect to folks who really enjoyed the scatter mechanic and his random movement around the board, I really like how this sets up a very unique fighter, very sort of pivotal part of this matchup and a positioning consideration without having to introduce a whole new mechanic.
It is, I think, a well-struck balance there.
Yep.
He feels very good, but he doesn't feel too good. And he feels like he's more in the first player's control. So
yeah,
I think overall a more reliable, more predictable game experience is better competitively and better for, pleasure of playing with and against the warband. Some of the other matches around the hall having finished now. Some other tables sporting chess clocks. It looks like we are every player here knowing that the result of the last match they just played could affect their chances to make it to the championship cut, and anxiously looking at those tables still playing to see how that might affect their standings in their respective pools.
We got a charge and a scurry, getting some archers coming in. We have a crit.
And a reroll with a crit and a success.
Bold Scout.
And Brash Scout's reroll being really helpful there. Being able to do a damage, drive back, and since he has 1 fighter in each territory now, he does get Careful Survey, which I'll be admitting I have not seen yet this game.
I don't think so.
Wondering if Julian never drew it or he was never able to manufacture that situation.
That does seem like a good one for the Gitz with the scurry.
Yeah,
nice opening one.
Decent movement and the ability to move 2 fighters to start the game. You can, as we just saw, make that happen.
Oh, we also
that was critical effort as
wow.
well because he did roll a critical success. So 2 early surges out of Julian.
Unless I missed something, then Skyler had Julian go first.
It seems to be that way. I don't know what Skyler did. So, again, considering both players are doing a positional game plan with a bit of, I wouldn't say hold objective per se, but hold treasure token, hold feature token, hold delve capacity. It is often better for the hold player to want to go second so that they have the last action of the round.
Absolutely.
Skyler may have elected to do that, knowing that who holds the treasure tokens is who holds the key to victory in this game.
Skyler busting out a range 2 attack, galling in. Oh,
Ooh,
a double crit defense. Wow.
Loud cheer out of both players. Julian sighing relief. Skyler laughing. I mean, we're still having a good time. Yes, this is incredibly competitive, high stakes for both players, but don't forget, we're having fun playing a game. Share the load, at least, coming out. So Skyler does have a surge glory there.
And Skyler has been collecting his glory underneath our dice tray cam, so we'll periodically give you a glimpse, but we're gonna make sure that we're keeping current on it.
Worth noting, these cameras were positioned, oriented, and managed by Skyler. So is he doing this on purpose?
Seems like a strategy.
One can only assume. All right, chess clock in play again, so Skyler has tapped it over, giving Julian the opportunity to act.
Some more treasure token positioning. Daniel Knight is right. They're looking to get the top 4 from all the different pools, and then they will see the top 8, and then 9 through 16. I think they're referred to as the championship and worlds brackets. Russ, that is correct. You could also flip the table, but man, that would make my life real hard having to reset all these cameras.
Yeah, I would be more than a little bit upset about that. You can flip a table, and I'll judge you for it, but if you flip the stream table, we have a different conversation.
And I don't think I've ever seen Fish here angry.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I got the eye of the tiger in me. All right, Julian about to make a roll. Oh,
share the load.
Share the load himself. So doing that after the move part of this charge. And Skyler rolling his defense. That's a shield. So looks like 1 damage put out on the archer, and she has driven off that central token as well.
So this is an interesting opening here where we have 2 guardians already injured, and no goblins or no grots have taken any damage or been taken out of action here. So the
and we have the
claim the
prize. Delving is happening, and the underdog can do that in their own territory if they please. There's a surge objective placed off to the side there by Skyler. Getting a couple compliments on our outfits from bystanders, because pretty sure we look fresh.
That's what the kids are saying.
One of the things interesting about this world tournament is we do have competitors from multiple nations across the world. Games Workshop has brought in some professional translator staff as well. So at one of the other tables, there currently is a conversation going on between some judging staff, some administrative staff, some translators, and the players, which is great because, while yes, ostensibly this tournament is performed in English, you want to make sure that when the World Championship is on the line, that all players have complete understanding of an interpretation of the rule, and all players' justifications are actually understood, and we get the best result out of this. So really good out of Games Workshop being able to provide those translator services. Skyler rolling a sword and
that's not what he wanted to see
blanked,
there.
which is not what he wanted to see.
Still has a War Scroll ability available. That's going to look like a free push or a teleport is my guess.
No slain fighters means not a lot of use out of the others.
Has some decent landing spots. Let's see. We're pretty sure that's Cathale back there.
There's that teleport.
Yeah, there it is.
Another seed planted by the Guardians here. delving. Chess clock again in play. Can't quite read the numbers from here, but both players being pretty diligent about tapping it.
We will be able to watch. They got about 29 minutes left in the round. For those who missed it, there are actually two Ylthari's Guardians players here. The other one being Canada's G, a really excellent player. And those two Guardians players played each other in the first round of the entire tournament, which was a little unfortunate.
It is, because one of them had to take a loss, and that player was G, but he's done quite well for himself since, so either one of them with the chance to make it into the top 16.
This is Snurk coming in with a big 3 damage hit, I think.
Yeah, that's 1 sword and 1 flanked, means 2 successes. So, explaining the circumstances and the outcomes of this roll are both players. Seeing if Skyler will be able to roll his defense or if Julian has any cards he wants to play prior. All right, Skyler picking up his dice to roll defense.
This is a big one.
2 successes to beat, and that is not going to do it. That's 3 damage and a slain fighter and an unoccupied token. Pretty big outcome for Julian.
This is the start that Julian wants to see here. He's up an early 5-2. Depending on his end phases, he may even jump right to the Inspire here. I'd say if Skyler managed to get a kill, I would put my odds on Julian inspiring.
Could happen.
And
I wonder if that changes Skyler's plan about whether or not he should slay a fighter. Right. How much more scared is he of those fighters being inspired? Question in the chat from Joseph: was there an FAQ on Snurk and the lethal hexes? I'll tell you from the event-specific FAQ in errata that we were given, Snurk is not mentioned in that document, so we'll keep it as it is on the publicly available War Scroll. But based on the outcomes of what we've seen in this game, because it is a reaction ability and the core rulebook does read that reactions are optional, the Gitz player may choose to react with Snurk's spinning ability, and generally speaking, they're going to choose not to react when their own players enter the area. So, again, you do have the opportunity to perhaps slay one of your own fighters and force an inspire, but so far we have not seen Julian choose to spin it into himself. Thematically, you can just imagine that the ball and chain are spinning slightly above those crossheads.
They're just very practiced at
ducking at the right time, maybe making a nice time jump.
It's like one of those playground games where you kind of jump over the chain, jump under, duck under.
A little double dutch.
Yeah, it's just a little jump rope. Yeah, Scott, I think, has a little off on his activations here. Yep. Both players, I should say.
Yeah, we're in kind of an interesting situation because this is the pivotal third game. Both players want to win. Both players can win. Both players are on the chess clock.
Yeah.
And if their game comes down to not finishing in time and a player wins because they didn't finish, I mean, that's unsatisfying for both people.
Yeah.
And because it'll lead to a lower glory total, may actually affect their ability to get into the top cut. So both players definitely wanting to finish this game on time.
All right, trying to take advantage of the stagger and the 1 defense dice before the Inspire happens. 2 successes. Choosing not to take the reroll,
but the crit does reduce the damage by 1 and prevent the dried back with the stand fast ability. So great roll out of Julian. Dice luck's definitely seeming to go his way today so far.
Yep.
At least in this third game.
I think we're looking at 1 action left for each player.
staggering happening. Remember, we have not seen that 3 glory end phase yet, and Skyler acutely aware of that, making sure he is holding a treasure token.
And Skyler's already used his War Scroll ability, so there's no
Less ability
leveraging that to
scoot
sneak
around.
on.
Squig charge coming in hot. See if we can't punch 2 more damage out. That's a double crit out of Julian. And Skyler unable to do anything other than roll a single crit. Best possible outcome was still not enough. And that is another surge objective for Julian as well. So early lead, growing stronger, and if I'm not mistaken, we're looking at an inspiration for the Gitz just about now.
Yeah, I'd be real surprised if he didn't pull off Inspire after this.
Yeah, that Inspire is immediately a not in the end phase, but Julian maybe not thinking about that. And there is a teleport out of Skyler. He is back there, not holding any feature tokens right now, I will add.
Yeah, this is danger zone. I wonder if he's banking everything on an
have
overrun
a confusion
here.
or something else of the sort, or is he just gambling?
I don't think we've seen confusion from him.
I mean, he is down by several glory now. I think he does have to take the risk.
That's a tough one. Down 6-2, you're down 4, but if you give up a 3, you may turn this into a unrecoverable.
But if you're wasting efficiency blocking a card that Julian
that's not
doesn't
even
have,
in there. That's true.
You could lose the game that way
Tough
as
choices.
well. So yeah, Skyler is forced to do a tough choice, and it looks like he's made it.
I gotta imagine he's really hoping to see a crit in here so that he can trigger an
drive
overrun.
back, and there may be a sidestep type effect in there.
Yeah. He may have sidestep, yeah. So an overrun would be, he really kind of.
One die fell out of the bin, so does not count. We have
he does have
one success.
A reroll. He's going to hang on to that
flanked. The reroll. That's
2
successes. So Skyler's got to be pretty relieved there.
Another
and another crit from Julian. But Stand Fast does not save him. Yeah, so again, Stand Fast reducing damage by 1 to a minimum of 1. And so a fighter who had only 1 health remaining, unable to survive that hit regardless. But still psychologically intimidating to know that Julian can roll no wrong at this point.
I have a hard time imagining Skyler went to this position without something to get him on that token, but we'll see.
Growth token counters going down. Looking through his power hand there. I see 3 upgrades.
Wow.
No, he does have 1.
That's hands out a charge token. That's braced.
Oh.
No?
I didn't see what that one was. It looked like the Skaven with the gas mask sniffing the air. See if I can find that card in the Reckless Fury deck.
Clock ticking down. We got about 21 minutes left in the round.
Yeah, I have no idea what card that was that he had in his hand, but he chose not to play it.
Big in phase.
And that is Desolate Homeland for 1, and the 2 glory multi-delve card there.
Torn Landscape, Desolate Homeland. That'll get him 3 more. That gets him the Inspire.
So notably, we did not see Strip the Realm.
That's true.
Skyler
took
the risk, and it was the right call.
Bloody momentum coming in for Skyler.
So being able to get over there with the charge token also helping him score that card against the odds scored by delving that treasure token 1 earlier in the round.
So Skyler at least kept pace in the end phase here. It was a 3-3 in the end phase.
And he also has to discard now that none of his fighters are adjacent, because sacrificing that 1 to score 2 and get a bounty.
And I think his idea on discarding, because it's going to get easier and easier to score, but I think he just does not want to hold on to a single glory
end phase worth 1, and he can't afford to wait around.
Yeah.
You want more surges right now.
Skyler's upgrading Skithale a couple times. He's got the bonus move now.
For those following along at home, Best Coast Pairings has some live updates of what's happening in the other matches. So if you want to start doing a little bit of math and counting up yourself, you can get a guess at which players may be advancing to top 16 and who is waiting on the outcome of this and a few other games. Both players realizing now Skyler got a kill he may not have kept track of, and that may have affected the glory total, may have affected who was underdog, and also Julian, notably, still not inspired. Unclear if that was intentional or something that both players have overlooked.
I suspect it'll be like the last game he's going to remember
right as
in a minute or two.
Yeah. Fortunately, last game, no activations occurred in between the trigger and the happening, but this time, at least one attack has come in and slain one of his fighters who would otherwise have been on one additional defense die.
Skyler's got some work to do. He's down to 2 fighters.
Losing that roll off, Julian takes first activation if he wants it.
Oh boy, here comes Snurk. Snurk has a chance to really kind of slam the door on this right now. 3 damage right here.
True.
He's just remembering he's inspired.
Just remembering inspired because he says, hey, 2 swords seems like a real bad idea here.
It seems tough.
So unclear whether that additional defense die on the last round would have made a difference for him, but what's done is done. So looks like a
crit success.
Boy,
oh
we
my
have
goodness.
A critical and a success.
Skyler
in a
get
tough
out of this,
spot
but it's
here.
gonna be tough.
3 damage coming his way if he can't get out of it. And
not with that.
No,
oh my goodness.
Not enough. 3 damage.
A big whoa coming from Skyler.
You know, what happened to that main character energy, my friend? We were counting on you for a pivotal game 3.
Well, that's Galligan going down. We still have the main character on the board here.
Oh, see, they all look like trees to me.
Julian now with a commanding 12-6 lead. It's going to be real hard. With only 1 fighter, 3 glory scores back on the table.
Yeah, we don't know if he held. Well, he wouldn't have held. He would have just scored it. But if he's drawn into or can focus into Strip the Realm, that's 3 more glory coming Julian's way. As Skyler's going to be forced to decide between, do I stand on tokens with my last fighter, or do I start laying about with that glaive? And sorry, not glaive. I keep getting him messed up. He's the sword man.
Snurk not only smoking Galligan with a big old wrecking ball, but getting a little extra damage here on Skithale.
I would say, and I will admit I prepared this pun a couple days ago on the off chance it came up, but he came in like a wrecking ball, and it is not a party in the USA.
I think I see claim the prize in Julian's hand.
Is he going to be able to get over there and delve that token number 1? Pretty sure Prague has no tokens, so he could, if he chose to do that for 1 surge. Not a bad play if he's got nothing better to do. Though he does have 1 damage out on Skithale. That is multiple upgrades. I'm not sure which ones they are, but there's a chance that he's pretty survivable at the moment. So Julian might be better served with focusing on tokens rather than attacks.
I know for sure one of them is Blade Catcher, and I'm almost positive the other one is another one is a bonus move for charging. And here comes even more Keen Eye, extra accuracy.
It looks like Skyler is committing to the killing some goblins approach, which may be his best move at this point, and just hoping that Julian has Stripped the Realm near the bottom of his deck.
Honestly, if I'm Julian at this point, I maybe stop charging.
Yeah.
You know, don't
give him Arena Mortis. Don't give him any of those other cards. Just take some moves, some guards, some focus.
Yeah.
And try and limit Skyler's ability to catch back up.
I think there's
Keep
only so
away.
much a single range 1 melee fighter is going to be able to do here.
And I don't mean kill the clock in terms of slow play, but I do mean kill the clock in terms of Skyler's ability to generate glory. So Skyler actually moving back onto that token and around.
Oh, he's got to go the long way around.
Because he can't take the damage from Snurk.
Can't afford
he
the
would
damage.
have to move at least 2 times through the danger zone to get where he needed to go, and he has not taken that risk. So
I love that bonus movement. You're like, it seems like more movement than you could possibly need.
I'm already in enemy territory. What am I doing +2 move for? But in this case, incredibly important for Skyler. He does have 1 critical success. No crits.
Finally gets one.
And down goes Zarbag. So pretty good for Skyler. He has a charge token now, but with Reckless Fury being able to manipulate those, we may see it come back off, or perhaps he can act as though he has none.
Drawing some of the power cards that have been planted. Actually,
And
yeah.
Finally inspiring. Been kind of a rough turn of events for Skyler in Game 3 here. But he does have his best fighter inspired, so we'll see if that ensnare comes to help him out soon. And he has given him utter ignorance, so if Julian had any thoughts of trying to kill him before, I would imagine they're gone now. A thin smile out of Julian, since that may have been his plan, and now he's got to change tactics.
We've got upgrade coming down on one of the squigs. Couldn't quite read it.
1 glory upgrade, but I can't quite see the art to make the... If I can find that by looking at the tiniest little sliver. It could be tough. No more than 3 damage can be inflicted on this fighter the same turn.
Doubt that he would include that for the Gitz.
Since he's got only 3 health anyway at the upgraded state. It could have been great strength, though. There's a chance that that's what that is. If it is great strength on the squig, then Skyler's utter ignorance is only going to save him the 1 time.
Julian doing us a big favor in organizing up his glory after that big score. Looking at 14. We'll say Skyler won both his games, both his matches in the first day, and then he feels that he has something of a reputation for winning everything he can in day 1 and then losing everything he can in day 2.
Yeah, but now he's on path to, well, maybe not right now, but there was the outside chance that he would then win out today.
Yeah.
And carry that sine wave like you talked about.
He did say that his three match losses yesterday. He said he not only did he not win a match, but he didn't win a game.
Well, it was at least good to open with a win this time.
Yeah, and then on top of that, though, it sounded like those matches were extremely close. Even sometimes you lose 0-2, but they're very close. Like you lose 1 on tiebreakers, 1 by a glory.
Well, even then, I mean, you can see games, and I know we've all played them, that the end result of the match numerically does not represent how close it was. I've had games where I felt in control all time and I won by 1 or 2 glory. And I've had games where I, was not sure until the very last moment and won by 6. So tight games aren't always represented by the numeric score of glory, but it does sound like Skyler had hard-fought losses the entire day. So good to finally get a game win.
Skyler taking another glancing blow from the spinning ball and chain coming in. He's just going to continue to try to manufacture some kills.
Does have utter ignorance to defend himself, and I think if you're Skyler, you kind of need to start chopping right now, for lack of a better term.
No way he's going to outscore by just sitting still. So get it one glory at a time.
Notably, he does have 3 slain fighters.
Yep.
So he can take several extra dice if he needs it, and then against a 3-dodge fighter,
it's like crit and a success. Should have ensnare. Should help out here.
And only 1 dodge out of Julian, so that'll be a slain Snurk. There's another bounty for Skyler, and a significant threat off the board. Advanced, you know, I wasn't keeping track. I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to influence the game, Skyler.
I am seeing Skyler has used his ability for the round, which means that he is not going to get that big push. I thought it might be keeping that in his pocket for a
block and strip the realm right at the end there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Conversely, he may not have felt he was able to save that because he needed something now in order to even keep it close enough for that to matter.
I can't imagine Julian's going to try and get a kill on. I mean, maybe he will. That would obviously
got 2 health left and utter ignorance to chew through, so he'll at minimum have to hit him twice.
Yeah.
And with only a couple activations left, I'm not sure that would be his focus. He's charging, scurrying, and perhaps reacting with volley for the first time this match. A little bit of a can I reach him, can I not distance situation. Charging certain fighters in certain orders.
Some flanks.
Also operating to set up a flank, which will help his accuracy for at least the first shot. And swords is what he needs. And swords not what he gets.
And he's unfortunately fed another fighter to Skithale.
And given another charge token to his fighters on the board. So may come to regret that decision.
About 7 minutes left in the round. Looks like we got 2 activations left for Skyler. A little harder to see with the reflection.
Push through. Act like you don't have a charge token. Take a damage.
Take damage.
So
wow.
Had that arrow hit, we might be seeing a different play here. But Julian missing means that Skyler has the ability to charge again now. You got to wonder who is it he's going for. It is the archer who just shot at him. Not going for the squig who hasn't charged yet, but perhaps he wants to make sure that he's out of danger from other fighters afterward. Hoping for an overrun here. Has a reroll from Stagger. And there's the crit, so overrun is possible.
Could get it.
And no crit out of Julian means that Skyler is on that token. Wiping some sweat off his face there, I'm sure.
8-14. I still don't think Skyler's got... he can't outscore him by 6 glory in the end phase. I just don't see it.
But he's blocking, strip the realm. Having utter ignorance on means that even if he dies, he'll find a way to stay on that token. And I'm not sure that Julian has the capacity to kill him twice with what time is left. So we'll see what end phase scores each player is holding. And then we do still have the 3rd round to play. If
this is a 3rd delve. Yeah. Trimmed it to 5. Trimmed it to 4.
Both players with pretty focused but relaxed body language right now. So I don't think either one of them is stressing too much. I think they both see a way they can win this game. They've got more information about what's going on in the card hands than we do. So
we'll
find out what surprises are coming our way. Skyler delving back to block strip the realm just in case.
I wish I'd kept track of who has and has not scored Torn Landscape at this point. We got 2 treasure tokens showing.
I know that one player has. I forget who.
It feels like it's got to be Julian.
And I don't remember if Skyler has yet or not. So he has got a guard token.
Just chipping away.
There it is. I mean, he knows he's got a way. If he can get his surges going, drawn to the right end phases, Skyler is not out of it yet.
Skyler taking a look at what he surged into. We can actually see some of what Julian is holding there. Don't quite know him well enough.
He's got against the odds, which I believe...
There's no way he hasn't scored that.
He could have scored it. If he hasn't yet, he will now.
Yeah.
But I can't see the other 2. Scoring 3 there, so he's got 1 for against the odds, as we said. And then one more for Broken Prospects for having delved 3 times. So did not score Strip the Realm. Is it because he has it or because he didn't have it? He's not discarding an objective so far. He's holding it and drawing up. So Strip the Realm could still be in his hand. Or it could, again, be mind games for Skyler to say, stay on that token, if you please. For the chat, as far as I can tell, Scythael has only 1 wound remaining. I don't believe Great Fortitude is in either of the decks Skyler has taken. So Scythael with only 1 wound left. However, he does have a card called Utter Ignorance, which means that the first time he would die, he has 1 wound remaining instead. So he has 1 wound left, but twice. So it'll take at least 2 attacks to take him down. Glory Seeker going on. Again, not sure of the value because Gitz don't stand that tall.
He may be deciding to discard it. I can't tell.
He might be, throwing these things out and saying, I'm not taking this. And then drawing up to fill in his hand.
Oh, no. Glory Seeker
He's
did
playing
go
a
out.
bunch of stuff. Scythael, the main character energy with 7 upgrades on. You've heard of the term Voltron. I mean, we now see some kind of 3-headed snake coming out of that fighter card.
Good question from Ekric5. This is a Nemesis format, so both these players are mixing 2 decks. In Skyler's case, it's Pillage and Plunder along with Reckless Fury, and Julian, Pillage and Plunder with Blazing Assault.
Notably, Julian just won the roll-off to go first in this pivotal round 3. If he could land 1 attack right away on Skyler, that could change the face of things. Or perhaps he just starts to play a game of keep away, knowing that a lot of that charge tech has already been used up in the last round.
Yeah.
There's only so much Skyler can do with it.
If it was me, I'd be real tempted to force Skyler to go first, and I think he's been going back and forth on that. We saw his action.
Yeah, he's flipped that activation token multiple times now.
But Skyler doesn't have an obvious helpful first activation. I mean, obviously there's a charge, but
make a charge, but
yeah,
it also depends on what cards he has in his hand. So
yeah, I mean, there we go.
And time is ticking down on this clock, so we can't take too long to make the perfect decision. Julian deciding to charge with the squig. Inspired is 3 hammers.
Determined effort.
Determined effort to make
it
that 4 hammers. Remember, he does have to kill Scythael twice because of Utter Ignorance. 2 hammers. And there's a crit and a success.
Oh, wow.
So about as good of a roll as Skyler could have asked for. No drive back, no damage, no nothing. However, because he succeeded on defense, he has now lost a defense die.
Yep. Ooh, and that squig was a duelist.
Ooh.
Okay. That was a...
And Scythael only with a range 1 attack, unless one of those upgrades says otherwise. Skyler delving.
Wow, the board is clear now. No treasure.
So should something not change, Julian can absolutely score Strip the Realm.
I'm impressed. Skyler's continuing to play with confidence and moving along. It speaks to the level of competition here that you just got to keep your head in and keep getting everything you can. He's going to get himself a guard token.
I mean, down by 6 with a chance of the world's bracket on the line. Getting nervous is not going to help you do that. So
I think he needs to have a charge token to have played that, which Julian may have just pointed out, making him pick up the card.
Enemy fighters cannot use core abilities other than charge activations in the next turn. Is something that Skyler has chosen to do. Going to use
Canny Sapper.
And he's going to make charge be the only option available for Julian this turn.
Well, I think that may have been a ploy used to trigger the Canny Sapper. Skyler.
Oh,
I think we
Skyler.
just saw an illusory fighter squig.
Skyler throwing his head back, saying, "Oh, so good."
Julian getting the better of the teleport exchange this
Yes, we
time.
remember last game how important it was for Skyler to win that duel, and it looks like Julian, unless Skyler's got something we don't know about, may have just done so himself. And possibly using that war scroll push.
There we go with the charge.
Or that could be the charge, actually.
Oh, no.
Not what you want to see. Skyler saying, hold up, hold up.
I think he's remembering he has.
He does have
full
a reroll,
as
and being the underdog, he gets to reroll all 4 of those dice.
A big flourish of a reroll here.
There's 3 crits and a success. So
high fives exchanged. That's about as dead as a squig can get.
From the depths of despair to the heights of exaltation. I mean, what else are you going to do?
Yep.
A complete whiff to an almost absolute success. And it also scores aggressive defender because he was on a treasure token when he made that charge. So
Skyler scrapping for every single point.
Skyler is trying to find a way to claw back. And still on a feature token, meaning he can still continue to block Strip the Realm, which is why this delve is coming into play right now.
Now that he's got a charge token, I think we're going to see him go on guard in just a moment here.
Has he already scored that card?
There we go.
I mean, going on guard is still probably the smart play.
Yeah. Well, he especially wants it so he stays on one of these treasure tokens.
Putting guard on, Wary Delver. Wise choice regardless of what upgrade of an objective card he may have. Saying, I'm staying on this token, and with utter ignorance, you'll have to kill me. I'll come back, and then you'll have to kill me again. There's no other way you're getting me off. Though, have we seen Lure of Battle yet?
I don't think so. I could be wrong.
If Julian can find a way to get Lure of Battle out, there's 3 crits. Fist bump across the table. Skyler knows there's not much he can do about that. Trying to stand fast for fun, reduce the damage.
So utter ignorance
is gone, so he is slain but not slain. Upgrade is taken away, so if he dies again, he'll die for real.
Interestingly, utter ignorance. It might be a more balanced card if it let the fighter die and instantly be raised. Maybe
giving the bounty and then not being worth bounty anymore and uninspired. Yeah, so we'll see what happens in any FAQ errata that come out later on. But as of right now, it's as though that attack never happened. All it did is discard the upgrade. Notably, Julian was able to do that without charging, so it may affect some of Skyler's capacity to score. Chess clock getting very tight now as we head towards the very end of this round.
Skithale saying, I like this one better.
Delving back to a treasure token side to block Strip the Realm.
I think Skyler is working on delving like 3 different tokens here.
There is a card that says to do that.
And the problem is there's so many of them that were already cover tokens that he's having to delve each twice because it's asking you to delve 3
treasure to delve it back, because some cards just say delving a token.
All right.
Some specifically mentioned delving treasure token.
It
had to be on the treasure side when it was
Drizgit is an accurate fighter. Ooh.
There's 2 hammers and a crit. And that is the end of our main character's story, it looks like. Now, we can't say for sure, but you've got to imagine that puts a pretty big damper on Skyler's hopes, and they shake hands. May not even bother playing it out because I don't think there's anything Skyler can do.
I think it looks like they're going to just kind of work their way towards their final scoring.
See if there's any things that'll happen. Skyler taking the pass action, not even bothering to focus. Yeah. Skyler taking focus.
Skyler uses a focus now that he has no fighters. The card he looked at, he stared up the ceiling and said, oh, where were you? So perhaps an important one. Skyler saw most of them, but he didn't see them all.
See that one he needed. That's why you shuffle the deck every game. Right.
You messed up your shuffle.
Julian scoring a hefty end phase.
Wow.
Big high five across
1,
the table
2,
for both
3,
players.
4, 5.
Skyler was working towards broken prospects, but was slain one activation too early. Not making the difference in this game, as both players acknowledge, but incredible play out of both. Like, you can't really ask for a tighter finish.
Yeah.
Not only glory-wise, skill of play, but also literally down to the time wire. We have a judge here to collect scores immediately after the game is over because we are working on these brackets right away.
Yeah. I think we're going to have some matches called to time. I see some board actually still getting set up, which is going to be interesting. But
wonder if are they just to play a single activation, and if someone gets the surge off, you win. They might as well flip a coin in that case.
We do have a pair of judges. Well, we have a judge sitting actively at that table. Just make sure everything goes.
Look in the core rulebook.
But scores are recorded here.
Put it.
Give us, Julian.
Hey,
give us one more time,
guys.
Julian,
do that one more time. We had a camera on us. We're gonna. Yay! Now both players getting up to hug each other across the table.
The double hug.
Yeah. As both players are saying, I mean, it's excellent play out of both. That was a really great game.
Yeah.
Interesting to see kind of that flex that we haven't seen a ton of this tournament. A lot of players opting to go either for positional or aggressive play, but these players leaning into both with some good effect.
Yeah.
Nice, interesting matchup, and good to be able to showcase two new warbands as well.
Absolutely. Skyler, I was there when he and Brian just kind of first joined our meta, and he at first, it was one of those situations like I'll just kind of bring whatever, I'm gonna be able to beat him, and then also it got harder. And now without question, I'd say he's when we sit down at the table, I feel like he's the stronger player, and he wins. He's beaten me multiple times in like league finals or our Madtown Throwdowns. And it's been cool to see him come from a player that I could watch him make mistakes, and now I'm like hoping I see one.
Yeah. I've gotten to the point with one of my players, a guy named Andrew in my local, with the same story that he started out, and I was like, here's something you could have done better.
Yeah.
I don't want to like give you unsolicited advice, but you are interested in this game. To the point where he's about as good a player as me. To the now he actually routinely beats me in competitive events. I haven't taken glass off of him in more than a year.
Yeah.
He beat me at a Grand Clash. He's a better player than I am, and he actually now tells me, "Hey, if you had ended adjacent, you would have blocked this card, you dummy." So if you out there are someone who's looking to get into this game or has some small experience, don't count yourself out, because in a very short amount of time you can become a top tier player. Maybe even get yourself invited to Worlds next year.
Yeah. So we should say that the next round is currently scheduled to start at 12:30 local. That would be 5:30 p.m. in the UK. The judges are going to have to wrap the games that are going on right now and build the brackets based on how people end these pools. So there's every possibility. They're going to work through lunch. They're going to work hard at it. Our intention is to have the stream up and running a few minutes before 12:30 here. And we'll hunt for a matchup. We're going to be looking in likely that championship or world's bracket. If folks particularly want to see something, let us know. We're going to be on the hunt. We'd love to represent some nations that haven't been on here a bunch. Obviously, we've seen the U.S., the Canadians.
I will say the Italians are doing very, very well, and we haven't shown one yet, so that might be coming.
I think that's. I would love to put that on. The last we looked, the Italians actually had the best win percentage out here.
They did, yes.
So dominant performance there, and I don't think we've had any of the Spanish players. There's some real good ones there too.
No Spaniards, no Italians so far. So possibly we'll get one or both of those next. But if there are any requests out of the audience, if you want to see a certain nation, if you want to see a certain warband, or you want to see a specific individual, let us know, and we'll see what we can do to arrange that, depending on a couple of other factors.
Capsule asking us if we know how many drums are in the top 16. Obviously, this is subject to change from this round. But we're going to scan through. I'm not going to be able to see it at a glance.
Yeah, this is too tough to do right now. We don't know what the tiebreakers are. Not every game has been finished or registered. So there will be several. I don't know how many exactly.
Yeah.
But you can expect to see some more drama on the stream from here on out, I think.
Yep. Eric5 wants to know, the game is in about 50 minutes. Daniel Knight asked for more UK. We'll see what we can do.
Hey, we got one. We may get another. It does kind of depend, again, on the matchups. But UK might be coming.
Aaron, I talked to him last night. he about had no voice left. So hopefully he's able to play his games.
I did talk to him this morning. He said he's going to be keeping it at a low tenor. He did sound a lot better, but yeah, he really burned out his voice by the end of the day.
Yeah. All right, folks, I'm going to leave the stream up for a little bit. We're going to put the mics down. I'll check in if there's any questions or comments, and we'll probably shut this one down in about 5 or 10 so we can make room to start the next one. We'll have a waiting room there. You can gather up there and get ready to watch the first match of the bracket play.
All right. Well, bro out.
Yeah.
See you next time.